on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Is this the title?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There is more drama with the Lakers sale. Jeannie Buss, one of 6 children of former Lakers owner Jerry Buss, has filed a lawsuit against her 5 siblings to block the sale of the siblings' 17.8% ownership of the Lakers to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner. Iger and Kushner have an agreement with Lakers owner Mark Walter to buy the team from Walter for $12.5 billion. 5 of Buss's children have agreed to sell their percentage to Iger and Kushner. Jeannie is holding out because she feels the Buss name should maintain some percentage of the Lakers with the new ownership group. The sale is not official until the NBA Board of Governors vote to give formal approval. The next owners meeting is in September in New York City. The Dodgers lost another one-run game in Atlanta Wednesday night, 6-5. The Braves got a 2-out pinch hit single in the bottom of the 9th to win it. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley.
Culture in my lifetime has been as impactful, if not more impactful, than politics or law or any other pursuit or business. You know, I like to say culture is undefeated.
Culture is undefeated. That's what Council President Marquise Harris Dawson says, and you know what? He's right. Culture is undefeated. But here's the problem. You don't get to celebrate the culture while ignoring the people who created it. And that's where this procrastination Crenshaw conversation gets real. As you know, the community sent a formal letter to Harris Dawson. We're still waiting for an official response from the city. The deadline is Friday, September 4th. But in the interim, Harris Dawson penned an open letter to the community. Okay, that's fine, but responding is not the same as answering. That said, let's not confuse fixing the parking, repairing the streetlights, and repaving streets and sidewalks with finishing Destination Crenshaw. The community was promised a transformational project. So, where is it? When is this thing going to be finished? The council president says the project is being delivered on a timeline. What timeline? That's not an unreasonable question, and that's not an attack. It's not division. That is accountability. And then there's the business interruption money. So in his letter, Harris Dawson says that more than $1 million went to Doolin's on Crenshaw, and additional assistance went to a few other individuals. Oh, really? Who received the money? How much money? And who didn't? I can assure you a whole lot of folk didn't get that money. How do I know? I'm getting the phone calls. You see, transparency should not scare anybody. That's how accountability works, and that's why in our letter, we ask for an audit. But instead, what do we get? A discussion about Tavis Smiley, the pastor, the parishioners, the business owners, the people asking the questions, their motives, their ambitions, their character. Well, let me tell you something. When you can't answer the questions, attacking, insulting, and gaslighting the persons asking the questions doesn't make the questions disappear. It just makes people ask why you won't answer it. Let me be clear. We don't want to fight with the council president. We want the project finished because the people of Crenshaw are not on the sidelines, Mr. President. They are Crenshaw. And if culture really is undefeated, then respect the culture, respect the people, respect the businesses, and most importantly, respect the questions. Now, answer them. The Crenshaw Corridor community is still waiting, and September 4th is fast approaching. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Just talking louder. Just say nothing. And say nothing.
live from historic Navarrette Park in Los Angeles, California. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. Up first, our regular contributor, Ruben Navarrette Jr., on the Democrats' political fortunes and why he still supports the Iran war no matter. On the B side of our two, we'll talk about the glimmer of hope Democrats see in Republican Darline Graham's South Carolina primary Senate win earlier this week with native South Carolinian and CNN contributor Bakari Sellers. In our third hour, two more conversations. Up first, he's back. Father Michael Pfleger of St. Sabina was reinstated this week. If you missed all the drama surrounding this iconic white priest on the south side of Chicago, we'll explain on the top side of the third hour. And on the B side of our three, we'll step into the Elder Skybox and talk with civil rights SNCC legend Courtland Cox one day before the 63rd anniversary of the historic March on Washington. In a moment, we'll commence today's show talking politics and more with best-selling author and retired Superior Court Judge LaDoris Cordell. But first, this.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can.
We lost Dolly Parton this week, 80 years old, over 100 million albums sold, 11 Grammys gone after a life that touched more people than most of us could ever imagine. But I want to talk briefly about something you may not hear on every other radio station or radio show today, the relationship that Dolly Parton had with Black America and Black artists in particular. Dolly never asked to be seen as an ally. She just was. When Beyonce recorded Jolene for her album, Cowboy Carter, Dolly didn't just approve it, she celebrated it publicly, warmly, like a proud friend, and she covered Beyonce inside the country music industry.
I can easily understand why you're attracted to my man, but you don't want the smoke, so shoot your shot with someone else. You heard me. Jolene, 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 I'm warning you, woman, find you your own man.
And long before that hit from Beyonce, Dolly gave us I Will Always Love You, a song she wrote alone in her cabin that Whitney Houston turned into one of the greatest vocal performances in all of American music history. Dolly always said that that moment that Whitney gave her changed her life, and she never stopped thanking Whitney for it. And when the country was in the streets after George Floyd was murdered, Dolly spoke, and she spoke plainly. She said, Black Lives Matter. No qualifications, no hedging. Now, y'all know that took something coming from where she came from in the industry that she worked in.
needs to express themselves however they feel they have to. I'm not out, like I said, I'm not out here to tell you what to do. I don't want you to tell me what to do. I do understand people having to make themselves known and felt and seen. And of course, Black Lives Matter. Do we think our little white are the only ones that matter? No.
Go on, Dolly, I ain't mad at you. She also gave millions of books to children through her imagination library. She funded vaccine research. She lived her faith through generosity, not through judgment. And she wasn't just covered by our greatest, she also covered one of our greatest.
I never meant to cause you any sorrow. Never meant to cause you any pain. Only wanted one time to see you laughing. I only want to see you laughing in the purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. I only want to see you bathing in the purple rain. I never wanted to be your weekend lover.
One of my dearest friends and longtime radio colleagues, Tennessee native Lyle C.B. Gregory, had the honor of performing with Dolly Parton on stage at the Grand Ole Opry. I light up every time Lyle tells me the story. It was for him a life-altering experience I can't even imagine. To be sure, Dolly Parton was country to her bones, but she was family to all the rest of us. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family of Dolly Parton, gone at age 80.
Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. I only want to see you underneath the purple rain. Honey, I know the times are changing.
Every day, somebody somewhere is trying to silence the truth. Not on this show. For over 3 decades now, Tavis Smiley has been bringing you the conversations that matter, the voices that challenge, the ideas that move us forward. From the halls of power to the heart of the community, Tavis covers it all. Real talk in real time. This is Tavis Smiley.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Seriously speaking, every Saturday when I hear the program about Altadena and how it may not come back, that's happening to us. This is the largest land grab since the gold rush in California. We have an EDD property, 59,000 square feet. Our elected representative determined that she should write a bill that would declare it to be surplus. So now guess what we're getting? Affordable housing. So I hope that we can start listening to one another, because there is a domino effect. If you don't care about us, guess what? We won't be here and then you won't be here.
Not letting them get away with anything. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm John Wood Jr., host of the Kingdom Project, weekends on KBLA Talk 1580. Black America has a tradition of holding the United States of America to the standard of her stated principles when it comes to democracy. When the country has said all men are created equal, black people have demanded that we mean it. In the long history of holding America accountable to the promise of her ideals, no name looms larger than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day.
But as the country has drifted from the ideals of Dr. King, do black people have a special obligation to revive Dr. King's philosophy? Furthermore, does the black church have a responsibility to renew the moral leadership of America and reacquaint the nation with the gospel principles that inform Dr. King's philosophy? Tune in Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific as I make the case for the revival of the philosophy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the moral leadership of the black church, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and retired Judge LaDoris Cordell. Judge Cordell, thanks for your patience while we did that tribute to Dolly Parton. An honor to have you back on this program. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, and please know that I agree with you about Dolly Parton. She's truly an upstander for justice.
No question about it. I wanted the audience to hear, if they never heard her talking about Black Lives Matter. She said it so plainly, Black Lives Matter. And for a white woman in that industry to lean in the way she did was just arresting for me. And so it is, it's a beautiful thing to celebrate someone who was as advertised. She leaned into all the right causes and all the right ways, and wanted to just take a moment to make sure that the rest of the nation understood the regard we have and had for her inside of Black America. And just an amazing thing to have all these major artists cover her music. That's all you need to know, that her music was so rich and so deep and so profound that Whitney covered her, that Beyonce covered her. But her respect was clear for our grand tradition when she covered Prince's Purple Rain. So just a wonderful opportunity for us to lean in and to celebrate Dolly Parton. That said, I'm celebrating LaDoris Cordell, as I always do, when she comes on this program. I want to start, Miles, with this clip of Linda McMahon, the Education Secretary. I'm going to play a clip for you in just a second here. There are educators all across the country right now who are concerned about who is going to protect African-American students as Donald Trump continues attacking civil rights, voting rights, and particularly in this instance, civil rights enforcement at schools across this country. So here is Linda McMahon, Education Secretary, with her thoughts, and then we'll get the thoughts of Judge LaDoris Cordell.
We are taking very deliberate and thoughtful steps to return education to the states. This school year, American parents and students have so much to be excited about because the Trump administration is steering education back to its rightful focus, serving students so that they are prepared for successful futures. Our administration has cut billions in funding for radical DEI programs and redirected those dollars to teachers, classrooms, and results supporting evidence-based literacy instruction, pouring record funding into charter schools, and energizing workforce training.
So the fascinating thing about that clip, and there are a number of things. Let me start with this, and I'll yield the rest of my time to Judge Cordell for this hour. You hear Linda McMahon saying we are returning the power to the states. In a few minutes, just stay with me here. As my preacher says, stay with me, I'm going somewhere with this. In a few minutes, we're going to pivot to another story about 24 states now suing to block these postal service rules for mail-in voting ahead of the midterms. So in one instance, they're bragging about, boasting about returning power to the states, but in this other instance, which we'll talk about a little bit later, you've got states suing Trump for trying to encroach upon what states do, which is, in fact, elections. Put a pin in that for now. Judge Cordell, the mic is yours on this first clip of Donald Trump suggesting, Linda McMahon suggesting that we're going to get rid of programs like DE&I and other corrective programs, and we're returning power to the states in regard to education. So the question is, who's going to protect these black students?
You know, Tavis, you just brought up, just by your question, the hypocrisy of this administration. But let me just talk a little bit about this U.S. Department of Education, what they did. It's important for your listeners to know history. In 2014, Obama, the administration, had a policy that encouraged schools to look at student discipline data for racial disparities because black students were suspended at disproportionately high rates throughout the country. So at the time, federal data showed that black students accounted for about just 15% of the nation's student population, but 35% of students suspended once, and black students are 44% of students suspended more than once. Mm-hmm. So the approach the Obama administration took in 2014 was to say to school districts, we're going to move away from suspensions and expulsions, and we're going to look at student discipline alternatives like restorative justice. Well, in 2018, the first Trump administration rescinded the 2014 guidelines that the Obama administration had done. So Biden comes in, Biden restores this approach that allowed federal officials to look at significant racial disparities in discipline and then to take action. Mm-hmm. Trump 2.0 now argues that those guidelines discriminate against white students. This is this whole reverse discrimination BS. So what has happened now is that the Trump administration, using idiots, because she is one, Linda McMahon, as tools to abandon racial discrimination investigation in the schools. Under her leadership, the Education Department has gutted its Office of Civil Rights. That's the office that investigates claims of racial discrimination. So that's what has happened now. This Trump administration has said, you know what, we don't care. And in fact, it makes us feel good that black students are being targeted, have been in the past, and we're going to make sure nothing can be done, at least by the feds, to take care of this problem. So what are we to do? What's going to happen to our black students? Well, they want the states' rights. That's what they're claiming now. Well, then it's up to the states to create their own civil rights protections using state laws to look at disparate impact on students of color, on trans students, on students in the LGBT community. It's now up to the states to do that. And I say that kind of with tongue-in-cheek because some states, Mississippi, Texas, Alabama, do you think they're going to rush to create their own civil rights protection, especially for black students under state law? Possibly not. So where does that leave black students and their families? They are left to file lawsuits. First of all, that costs money. You got to have lawyers, and Benjamin Crump can't be everywhere. All right, so they're left to file lawsuits, and the problem is they have to prove intentional discrimination, meaning beforehand, under Obama, under Biden, if you showed that 40% of black students in the district were being suspended, that in itself proved racial discrimination, full stop. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to prove intentional discrimination. It's there. No more. Now, under this administration, not only do you have to show the percentage, the high disproportionate impact on black students of discipline. You have to prove that the district intentionally is doing this. And how do you prove intent? You can't really, because unless you have a school district that says, yep, we hate black students and we're definitely disciplining them disproportionately. You're not going to find any school district that says it, puts it in writing. So that's why we had a rule that said you don't need to prove intent. Just look at the numbers to show discrimination. So we're back again, fighting a good fight that we had actually won in terms of how to address these issues. And the Trump administration is doing what it wants, which is promote the racism. And they're doing it very effectively right now, which is why the midterms are so important.
Indeed. You've raised two issues here I want to go back to. I've got 3 minutes now. Let's work on this first issue for the next few minutes, and then we'll continue when we come forward. God, I got you for the hour. But you've hit on two big themes, and that's why it's going to take a little time to unpack this. I want to go back to. The first is this notion of the burden of proof. You've just eloquently laid out how in this instance, and I could list many more if I had the time or needed to. I'm talking to a brilliant former jurist herself, Judge LaDoris Cordell. For her, I don't need to do this. But I could point to any number of cases in the Trump era, the Supreme Court and lower courts for that matter, but certainly the Supreme Court, that have sort of shifted the burden of proof onto the victimized, onto those who are being aggrieved. The burden of proof is now on the backs of black folk and brown folk and poor folk and other folk to prove that they have been harmed. That's a sort of radical departure from the way things have been for quite some time, not always, but for quite a while as it relates to the law. But this notion of us more and more being backed into a corner where we have to, under the law, prove intent, prove the harm. The burden is now on us. That we're beyond precedent on this. That's now taken hold. How do we read that? And how do we, more importantly, what do we do about that, if anything?
So you mentioned the Supreme Court, and I don't call them the Supreme Court anymore. It's the extreme court.
Yeah.
There are only 3 real Supreme Court justices, and those are the 3 liberals, 3 women. The rest are make up the extreme court. So they're the 6 extremes. So the law had been that you had to prove intent. This was back in the day. And then the Supreme Court decided cases that said, you can look at the evidence, you can look at facts, you can look at numbers in order to prove discrimination. So you don't have to go to intent, because it's a very, very high evidentiary bar to get there. And so the Supreme Court and the lower courts realized that. Trump is now turning it around. It's white people who are the victims. So the burden is on black folks to show that this is happening. It is sad, it is tragic, and the extreme court is indeed supporting this. And as you say, we'll talk a bit more about what the extreme court is doing in terms of states' rights. But the hypocrisy of all this and the racism that is coming out of this Trump administration is so blatant. It is impossible to ignore.
We'll talk about those states' rights issues that we teed up a moment ago when we come forward, and we'll get to that second issue that Judge Cordell put her finger on that I want to give her some more time to unpack. The first, of course, is how every day we see these rulings that are shifting the burden of proof to us, to the victimized, to the aggrieved. We have to prove this now. That's the first issue. She just opined on that. But this other issue is that of reverse discrimination. How in this moment, what is our best response? What do we say when they claim reverse discrimination? Question point blank. What do we say? How do we respond? How do we respond to their claim of reverse discrimination? You're listening to Judge LaDoris Cordell on Tavis Smiley.
Who's sitting across from Tavis this week? Leaders, legends, game changers. The people shaping the country and the culture. They come to Tavis Smiley because this is where the real conversations happen. No spin, no fluff, just straight talk and straight answers. Tavis Smiley, because the kinky question, where do we go from here, starts right here.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Immigrant advocates are pressuring Nassau County to follow a New York law limiting local police cooperation with ICE on civil immigration matters.
He is on notice, and if he does not, he is in violation of state law.
Blakeman, you need to follow the law.
Governor Kathy Hochul warns legal action could follow noncompliance, while County Executive Bruce Blakeman has not said whether Nassau police will adhere to the law. North Carolina authorities are investigating the death of Black 38-year-old Demetrius Fleming, who was found dead of an apparent hanging in Roanoke Rapids. Police say the cause of death remains unclear and stress that all possibilities remain under investigation. And Deshaun Watson is apologizing to Cleveland Browns fans after criticizing their reaction to him. The quarterback says emotions got the best of him after being booed and acknowledged fans' frustration as he prepares to start the Browns' season opener against Jacksonville. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There is more drama with the Lakers sale. Jeannie Buss, one of 6 children of former Lakers owner Jerry Buss, has filed a lawsuit against her 5 siblings to block the sale of the siblings' 17.8% ownership of the Lakers to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner. Iger and Kushner have an agreement with Lakers owner Mark Walter to buy the team from Walter for $12.5 billion. 5 of Buss's children have agreed to sell their percentage to Iger and Kushner. Jeannie is holding out because she feels the Buss name should maintain some percentage of the Lakers with the new ownership group. The sale is not official until the NBA Board of Governors vote to give formal approval. The next owners meeting is in September in New York City. The Dodgers lost another one-run game in Atlanta Wednesday night, 6-5. The Braves got a 2-out pinch hit single in the bottom of the 9th to win it. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Number 14. That's where Talkers Magazine ranked Tavis Smiley on their Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important talk radio hosts in America. Join Tavis weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But, try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It does indeed. With our guest in the first hour, always pleased to be joined at the onset of this program by retired Judge LaDoris Cordell, also author of the best-selling book, Her Honor, My Life on the Bench, What Works, What's Broken, and How to Change It. We revel in her analysis when she has time to squeeze us into her schedule on this program. In case you've just tuned in, she raised two big issues in the earlier part of our program, where she talked about the burden of proof that we see shifting more and more to us, to black folk, to those who've been aggrieved, to brown people, to poor people. The burden is shifting to us in a lot of ways to have to prove that we've been discriminated against, and that bar is getting higher and higher, not lower and lower. We talked about that. In case you missed it, check out the podcast of this conversation when it's posted later tonight. But we also, she raised the issue of reverse discrimination. Now, this ain't a new claim. This notion of reverse discrimination has been bandied about for years, but it does, I think, take on new meaning. I feel it much more acutely in the era of Trump 2.0. And so I asked a question a moment ago, point blank, that I'll now put to Judge Cordell. What is our response? What's our best response to this notion of reverse discrimination? When they claim that, we say what?
We say reverse discrimination is a myth. It's the reverse racism card. It's often pulled by white folks when people of color call out racism and discrimination that white people then aren't a part of. So white people then say, well, we feel like we're not, included, that we're being discriminated against. Racism has nothing to do with feelings. It is a measurable reality that white people are not subject to, but black people are. So what we have, and we've always had, at least for many years, is the law. We have, for example, the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It protects all individuals from discrimination based on protected characteristics. The word reverse is nowhere in Title VII of the Civil Rights Act because it's unnecessary and it's illegally inaccurate. So what we do is we say we recognize it is a myth. We recognize that reverse racism ignores the historical framework of institutional power in this country, ignores the systemic oppression documented against people of color in this country. So it's all about white people's feelings that they're not included, therefore it must be reverse discrimination. It's a myth. We need to call it out, and we need to lawyer up when the need arises, when we then become victimized, which this administration is trying to do, and in some ways succeeding, victimizing those of us that have a history of oppression in this country.
There's your response when you hear that bogus argument of reverse discrimination, courtesy of Judge LaDoris Cordell. All right, she mentioned earlier states' rights. And we see, a return of states' rights to states in this country in certain instances, although you heard Linda McMahon, Education Secretary, say in that clip I played earlier that they're returning the rights to states on education. They are now being sued by 24 states to block this administration regarding these new postal service rules for mail-in voting ahead of the midterms. Donald Trump has stopped at nothing to do away with vote by mail, although the ultimate irony here, as you probably heard or know, is that he votes by mail. So it's okay for Donald Trump to vote by mail from the White House to Florida, but mail-in balloting, mail-in voting ain't good for the rest of us. Talk about hypocrisy. But here now is Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays talking about this issue. Again, these 24 states suing the Trump administration. We'll go forward after this.
Earlier this morning, my office sued the United States Postal Service over their unconstitutional rule that would upend election procedures just weeks before voting starts. Arizonans have voted safely and securely by mail for decades. Republicans designed the safe and secure vote by mail system that easily more than 3/4 of Arizonans use. I think it's actually closer to 80 to 90% of Arizonans vote by mail. And we are going to make sure through this lawsuit that they continue to be able to vote by mail in 2026. This effort by the United States Postal Service and the federal government right now is a naked attempt to inject chaos and doubt into our election system right before voting starts. And it could harm the millions of Republicans, Democrats, and independents who choose voting by mail as they exercise their constitutional right to vote. States run our elections, period. Not the Postal Service and not the president, and that's why we sued the federal government.
States run our elections unless Donald Trump gets his way. That's Arizona AG Chris Mays. She is right about the fact this is about chaos and doubt. But it's also, to my mind, Judge Cordell, just another attempt at voter suppression. I digress. The mic is yours.
In law school, we're taught to address an issue first by looking at the rule, and then you look at the facts. So here's the rule. The Constitution has an elections clause, and that clause is clear. As courts have ruled over and over, states run elections. Congress has a legitimate role in passing national legislation about voting in the states, but the president has no role in elections under the Constitution. That's the law. Then you go to the facts. 1 in 3 Americans vote. That's more than 48 million voters. As you noted, Trump just voted by mail from his home in Florida. This is the same person who said voting by mail is, and I quote, inherently corrupt. The hypocrisy is so clear and so blatant. So Trump signed an executive order in March to upend mail-in voting. Why? One is because the great majority of black voters vote by mail-in ballots. He does not want us to vote because he knows the majority of black voters are not going to vote the way he wants people to vote. That is for him and for his little disciples, the people, his little minions. So the president issued this executive order, clearly illegal. The Constitution makes it clear he has no right to interfere. And as you noted, 24 states now have sued, including Arizona. So, but already the extreme court has already weighed in and basically said to a lower court that said to Donald Trump, you can't do this. This executive order is no good. It's unconstitutional. Well, the extremes, the 6 extremes, have weighed in and basically put a hold on that lower court's order. So the policy still, so let me just go back one more thing. Mm-hmm. Just Friday, the Postal Service issued its final rule, which says all the things they want to do, basically to interfere with elections. And so we have this final rule, and that's why the 24 states have jumped in and said, you can't do this. You cannot interfere, number one, with elections. These are entirely to the states. The Postal Service, you have no business doing this. So we have basically total chaos and a lot of noise going on. And people should remember, these ballots, whether you take them in by yourself or you mail them in, they are an extension of our voices to ensure that we all can be heard when we determine who represents us.
I am listening to Judge Cordell, and I am thinking about KBJ, Ketanji Brown Jackson. So it's not just these 24 states that have sued to block these new Postal Service rules for mail voting ahead of the midterms that Judge Cordell just spoke of. Ketanji Brown Jackson says that this Supreme Court ruling that, again, Judge Cordell just referenced, needlessly injects chaos into the 2026 elections. She issued a separate 23-page dissent blasting the decision by the court allowing Trump's mail-in voting changes to move forward. She didn't, again, just disagree. She wrote her own opinion, and it was quite the rebuke. When we come forward, I want to talk about the plight and the fight of KBJ. She's doing the best she can. Judge Cordell talks about the 6 extremes. She's right about that. But KBJ is she's putting up a fight, and this dissent was pretty powerful. We'll talk about that part when we come forward. And don't forget to somebody remind me, to give you a quick update on procrastination Crenshaw. There's breaking news on that. I'll do that when we come forward as well. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
From the Mert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
I'm an Eaton Fire hero. I was trapped there January 7th, 2025, so I was awarded the Carnegie American Red Cross and the Kiwanis Lifesaver Award. So, to me, this looks like a slow burn. You constantly see Dr. Hardy, Pastor Caldwell, Mr. Smiley here. Their business is slowly impacted. Now, in Altadena, it was a quick burn. Everybody left. Everybody got priced out. They didn't have enough money to stay afloat. They couldn't rebuild their property. So, to me, this is a target for the developers. In my opinion, having been in Altadena for 18 months, still today, I still feed all of those people there because they're still displaced because they can't afford to come back. So what do? They move down to the Inland Empire, or they just call it a day and they go back to another state. So it's important to hold leadership accountable because as of right now, they've abdicated their responsibility. They just show up for the cameras and they don't even come to see you.
Keeping them in check. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
You are indeed. Our guest is retired Judge LaDoris Cordell. We'll get back to her in just a second. Before I forget, there is some breaking news on this procrastination Crenshaw issue that we've been engaged in for months now. You recall last Friday that the LA City Council President and representative for this district, Marquise Harris Dawson, released a statement that I refer to as being full of insults and gaslighting. That statement is on our website on the homepage at KBLA1580.com. There's been great conversation about that letter since he posted it, and there are new developments now. In the letter, the President of the City Council talks about some of the people in this area that got money from Destination Crenshaw. And I said, oh, really? We didn't know that. So some folk did get some money and some folk did not. As you recall, in our letter, demand letter to the City Council, we are asking for demanding an audit. We want to know who got what, when did they get it, what was the process for them receiving it, and why didn't everybody get something? So we've called for an audit, and we've called for a business interruption fund. We've demanded to know when this project is going to start, when this project is going to conclude. He was on NBC locally last night and was asked that question directly. When is this project going to start? When is it going to finish? Pull the clip for yourself. This Negro cannot answer the question. He said, well, I don't want to give exact dates and times. I'm not really sure. Made a bunch of excuses for why they can't get started and when they're going to finish. This is precisely why we're asking these questions. But more to the point, in the article, the letter rather, that he released last Friday, he mentioned a few businesses in this area who had received money. He said that Doolin's on Crenshaw, owned by Greg Doolin, had received over $1 million. Greg Doolin is quoted in a story now in the LA Focus saying, it's not true. I did not receive $1 million+. So now the word of the City Council president is being directly challenged by the owner of one of the black businesses in this Crenshaw corridor. It's getting funky. It's a key sweat moment. Something just ain't right. I invite you to read the story for yourself on our website right now at KBLA 1580. Here's the headline for you. Greg Doolin, owner of Doolin's on Crenshaw, disputes LA City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson's claim that Destination Crenshaw awarded his business over $1 million in grants. You can read the story for yourself. This money is starting to feel a little funny, hence our demand for an audit. This story is getting worse and worse for Marquise Harris Dawson by the day. He ignored us for months, and now he's trying to show up, but the train has left the station. The deadline to respond to our demand letter is next Friday, September 4th, and if we don't get answers by then, or appropriate answers by then, we will take the next step. You can probably guess what that is, but there's your update on Procrastination Crenshaw. When we come forward, we'll give Judge LaDoris Cordell the final word. We'll get back to KBJ. You are listening to Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
You say you'd never give in to a meltdown. Never let kids' toys take over the house. And never fill your feed with kid photos. You'd never plan your life around their schedule. Never lick your thumb to clean their face. And you'd never let them leave the house looking like less than their best. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it. Never let them stay up too late. And never let them run wild through the grocery store.
Peanuts on aisle 6. And aisle 3.
So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, no, it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy.
Wow, Charles Barkley?
I just moved into the neighborhood. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi?
Sure, Chuck. That's what the Capital One Cafe is here for, open 7 days a week.
Oh, can I use your ATM? My dog walker only takes cash.
Anything for a neighbor.
Can I try the catchphrase?
Sure, take it for a spin.
There's no fees and minimums on Capital One checking accounts.
Nice, Chuck. I'll take it from here. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Visit CapitalOne.com/bankguide for details. Capital One and name member FDIC.
Ready for a weekend reset? Walk it out with me, Gina A. Towns, the artist formerly known as Gina Darby, on Reflectivity Beyond Black and White, as we seek peace, understanding, and healing beyond surface-level perspectives, where reflectivity becomes our inner power and resilience to transform our lives and our communities no matter what. Meet me and my crazy cool guest, Join the Reflectivity family movement as we make sense of it all. Every bit, every morsel. We're going to nourish the mind, body, and soul unapologetically right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Every Saturday, 2 and 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 4 and 10 in the Midwest, and 5 and 11 on the East Coast. It's time for Reflectivity Beyond Black and White. It's not only hot, it's sizzling, and we're cooking.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and retired Judge LaDoris Cordell. Judge Cordell, you track this stuff better than I do, but I was so pleased to see KBJ release that statement where she sharply, that dissent, well, the statement is the dissent, where she sharply criticized the Supreme Court's decision to lift a block on President Trump's mail-in voting executive order, warning in her ruling, in her dissent rather, that this ruling needlessly injects chaos. There's that chaos word again, that's her word. That this ruling by the court, she writes, needlessly injects chaos into this year's election. She characterized the decision as extending what she called a Kafkaesque nightmare. That's her phrase, a Kafkaesque nightmare that the court's precedents have been constructing for plaintiffs attempting to bring election-related challenges. If you bring an election-related challenge, it ain't met so nicely, so warmly by this particular court. That's her point. I've got 3 minutes left. I yield the balance of my time to Judge LaDoris Cordell.
Everyone should appreciate that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson is on the court. She speaks out, she speaks from her heart, and she writes the most readable, intelligent opinions. This dissent is really important. The other two justices, the other two liberals, also, one of them wrote a dissent, Sotomayor, and Kagan joined her. But Ketanji Brown Jackson decided to write her own 23-page rebuke. And she basically made clear that the outcome, what the six extremes have done, is indefensible. So basically, she faulted her colleagues, for requiring that blue states have to wait until the Postal Service begins implementing a policy that basically interferes with mail-in ballots before the states can actually challenge this in court. And that leads to complete chaos. So I say to folks, if you've never taken the time to read an extreme court decision, I'm talking about this particular court, which I call the extreme court, I get that. But I encourage you to read the dissents from the Supreme Court justices, the three who frequently, in fact, almost exclusively dissent. And they are readable, and they'll give you exactly what's happening in the court and explains it very clearly. We are so lucky, fortunate to have this woman on the court.
If this issue of Donald Trump trying to go in on mail-in balloting, even though that's how he votes, as I said earlier, if the issue itself isn't scary enough already, Donald Trump sat with a podcaster recently and was asked about this mail-in ballot issue and whether or not he might need to call or declare a national security emergency. Around our elections, he was asked whether he might need to call a national security emergency, and he said to that question, and I quote, "Let me just say that stranger things have happened, okay? I'll leave it at that. Let me just say that stranger things have happened, okay? I'll leave it at that." That was his quote. Clearly, he has left the door open to declaring a national security emergency and federalizing control over the November midterms. That is scary stuff. We'll leave it there for now. We thank retired Judge LaDoris Cordell for coming on to share her insights. Her book is called Her Honor, My Life on the Bench, What Works, What's Broken, and How to Change It. Judge Cordell, appreciate you. We'll do it again.
Thank you.
More Tabby Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Immigrant advocates are pressuring Nassau County to follow a New York law limiting local police cooperation with ICE on civil immigration matters.
He is on notice, and if he does not, he is in violation of state law. Blakeman, you need to follow the law.
Governor Kathy Hochul warns legal action could follow noncompliance, while County Executive Bruce Blakeman has not said whether Nassau police will adhere to the law. North Carolina authorities are investigating the death of Black 38-year-old Demetrius Fleming, who was found dead of an apparent hanging in Roanoke Rapids. Police say the cause of death remains unclear and stress that all possibilities remain under investigation. And Deshaun Watson is apologizing to Cleveland Browns fans after criticizing their reaction to him. The quarterback says emotions got the best of him after being booed and acknowledged fans' frustration as he prepares to start the Browns' season opener against Jacksonville. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There is more drama with the Lakers sale. Jeannie Buss, one of 6 children of former Lakers owner Jerry Buss, has filed a lawsuit against her 5 siblings to block the sale of the siblings' 17.8% ownership of the Lakers to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner. Iger and Kushner have an agreement with Lakers owner Mark Walter to buy the team from Walter for $12.5 billion. 5 of Buss's children have agreed to sell their percentage to Iger and Kushner. Jeannie is holding out because she feels the Buss name should maintain some percentage of the Lakers with the new ownership group. The sale is not official until the NBA Board of Governors vote to give formal approval. The next owners meeting is in September in New York City. The Dodgers lost another one-run game in Atlanta Wednesday night, 6-5. The Braves got a 2-out pinch hit single in the bottom of the 9th to win it. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley.
Culture in my lifetime has been as impactful, if not more impactful, than politics or law or any other pursuit or business. You know, I like to say culture is undefeated.
Culture is undefeated. That's what Council President Marquise Harris Dawson says, and you know what? He's right. Culture is undefeated. But here's the problem. You don't get to celebrate the culture while ignoring the people who created it. And that's where this procrastination Crenshaw conversation gets real. As you know, the community sent a formal letter to Harris Dawson. We're still waiting for an official response from the city. The deadline is Friday, September 4th. But in the interim, Harris Dawson penned an open letter to the community. Okay, that's fine, but responding is not the same as answering. That said, let's not confuse fixing the parking, repairing the streetlights, and repaving streets and sidewalks with finishing Destination Crenshaw. The community was promised a transformational project. So, where is it? When is this thing going to be finished? The council president says the project is being delivered on a timeline. What timeline? That's not an unreasonable question, and that's not an attack. It's not division. That is accountability. And then there's the business interruption money. So in his letter, Harris Dawson says that more than $1 million went to Doolin's on Crenshaw, and additional assistance went to a few other individuals. Oh, really? Who received the money? How much money? And who didn't? I can assure you a whole lot of folk didn't get that money. How do I know? I'm getting the phone calls. You see, transparency should not scare anybody. That's how accountability works, and that's why in our letter, we ask for an audit. But instead, what do we get? A discussion about Tavis Smiley, the pastor, the parishioners, the business owners, the people asking the questions, their motives, their ambitions, their character. Well, let me tell you something. When you can't answer the questions, attacking, insulting, and gaslighting the persons asking the questions doesn't make the questions disappear. It just makes people ask why you won't answer it. Let me be clear. We don't want to fight with the council president. We want the project finished because the people of Crenshaw are not on the sidelines, Mr. President. They are Crenshaw. And if culture really is undefeated, then respect the culture, respect the people, respect the businesses, and most importantly, respect the questions. Now, answer them. The Crenshaw Corridor community is still waiting, and September 4th is fast approaching. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Just talking louder. Just say nothing. And say nothing.
Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, let me rock it, Chaka Khan. Let me rock it, that's all I wanna do, Chaka Khan. Let me rock it, Chaka Khan. Let me rock it, let me feel for you, Chaka Khan. What you tell me, what you wanna do? Do you feel for me the way I feel for you, Chaka Khan? Let me tell you what I wanna do. I wanna love you, wanna hug you, wanna squeeze you too. And let me take you in my arms, let me feel you with my charm, Chaka. Cause you know that I'm the one to keep you warm, Chaka. I make it more than just a physical dream. I wanna rock you, Chaka, baby, cause you make me wanna scream. Let me rock it, rock it.
Fascinating, Miles Lowe. Earlier in today's program, in fact, we started the show today with a tribute to Dolly Parton. If you missed it, we'll be posting that later today. Just talking about her relationship, her impact on black artists. Clearly, she was covered by two of our best. Whitney Houston and Beyonce covered Dolly's stuff, but Dolly also covered Prince's stuff. I see all kind of messages. Who knew that Dolly Parton had a version of Purple Rain? And she killed it. Speaking of covers and speaking of Prince, Chaka Khan did a good job covering Prince on this track. Miles Lowe, I see what you did there. What you not see? I see your genius at work. I see. I'm Tavis Smiley. That's Miles Lowe on the boards. We're in hour two, and there are two conversations in this hour as promised. On the B side of this hour, we'll talk to South Carolina native Bakari Sellers about the glimmer of hope that Democrats see in Republican Senator Darline Graham's primary win earlier this week. We'll let Bakari explain that on the back side of this hour. But we'll begin this hour with our regular contributor, Ruben Navarrette Jr., the most widely read Latino columnist in the country, also writer of Navarrette Nation at Substack, his own podcast, Ruben in the Center. Busy guy is he, but every now and then he checks in with us, and it allows me to see what the other side or the middle of the road is thinking. I want to start with this, with Ruben. This is some news of today, and I want to just get Ruben's read of this. So the ICE agent that's been in the news of late was released from a Texas jail after a Minnesota court loses this fight. Minnesota had sought to have the agent extradited from Texas to answer charges in the Minneapolis-related on-duty shooting that wounded a particular immigrant. So Minnesota is pleading with Texas to extradite this ICE agent to Minnesota. And Texas says, we don't think so. They release him. That's the short and skinny of it. Minnesota wants him extradited. Texas says, we don't think so, and they release this ICE agent. There's politics all over this. Ruben, tell me how you read it.
Brother, it's so good to be with you again. You know, the story is interesting to me because, dating back to the founding of the country, we've had discussions and debates about the relationship between the federal government and the states. You know, we fought a civil war over it, the civil rights movement, for those who study what happened in the United States in the South in the 50s and 60s. It was about that. This is a different story. This is if somehow during the civil rights movement, Mississippi and Alabama had gotten into it, or Mississippi and Minnesota had gotten into it. This is a intrastate squabble between two states, between Texas and Minnesota. Texas, to my mind, did the improper thing, the bad thing. Greg Abbott involved himself in something that was not his affair, and he basically took the side of ICE and the ICE agent and the administration and, did a block and tackle there to keep Minnesota authorities away from this agent and their desire to extradite him for shooting an undocumented immigrant. From that, we can deduce a couple of things. Either Greg Abbott is just the ultimate team player who's trying to score points with the administration, or two, maybe he, is a big supporter of ICE and will support them right or wrong, or three, maybe he doesn't really take seriously as a crime the idea that you've shot an undocumented immigrant because he doesn't see them as real human beings. It can be any of those things, but this is not an everyday occurrence, brother. For those of us who follow the news, it's just not every day you find one state going at it with another.
Yep. What I find fascinating about this, which I'll let you opine on when we come forward here, is that Greg Abbott is, as you mentioned, the Republican conservative governor of Texas. But last time I checked, there are a whole lot of Hispanics, a lot of Chicanos, a lot of Latinos who live in the state of Texas,
who I suspect might not take too kindly to his having injected himself in this, no different than Ruben Navarrette, or for that matter, Tavis Smiley, don't take too kindly to his involving himself in this. You have a state that's asked you to extradite someone who was involved in the on-duty shooting of an immigrant. And rather than cooperate with the state and let this person go to Minnesota and be questioned and dealt with and even arraigned if necessary or prosecuted if necessary, you just release him. But he shot somebody. Again, I'm thinking of all these Latino voters inside the state of Texas. Are they going to raise their voices against Greg Abbott for having done something so absurd? I digress on that for now. I'll let Ruben respond to that. And Ruben's written a couple of pieces of late. As I mentioned, he's the most widely read Latino columnist in the country, courtesy of his Creators Syndicate piece. And there are a couple of things he's written I want to just take his temperature on. You're listening to Ruben Navarrette Jr. on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Let's do this.
Every vote matters. Every voice counts. And between now and November, the decisions made in Washington, Sacramento, and here at home in Los Angeles will shape the future of your family and your community. Don't leave it to chance, and don't leave it to guesswork. KBLA Talk 1580 is your source for the political conversations that matter most. Real talk, real insight, right here. KBLA Talk 1580, the place for politics.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
My name is Asata Umoja. I'm with the Hyde Park Organizational Partnership for Empowerment, which is at the southern end of Crenshaw. And this community has been greatly impacted. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we're most concerned about is just being totally neglected. And what I mean is being excluded from the process. When this project first started, they should have made sure that our organization, since we were most impacted, was in there. So we've been excluded, and we've seen commercial properties be taken for art projects. And we're very concerned about these are spaces that could help build economic growth and development in the community. And what this community needs more of is economic development, not art. I mean, I like art. It's a good thing. But they're putting the cart before the horse. Because without a solid economic foundation, what they are calling cultural tourism absolutely has no significance and no meaning. And this community is going under if we don't stop and do something to help build that economic foundation and support the businesses that are the tax base for this community to build the kind of services that we need. And the response from our leadership is totally inadequate.
Holding them accountable. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
Self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction. Self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Ruben Navarrette Jr., the last time I checked, a whole lot of your people live in Texas. This move by Greg Abbott, that would upset me if I were Latino living in Texas.
You know, it's going to upset them, but Greg Abbott's already been on thin ice with Latinos for some time. It's interesting when you take the long view, way back in 1994 and 1998, you know, George W. Bush ran governor of Texas, and for governor, and he got huge numbers of the Hispanic population. About half of Hispanics in Texas voted for him. And then Rick Perry was able to be governor there for as long as, I think, 16 years and had pretty good relationships with Latinos as well. But Abbott, it's just gone downhill. It's never going to be at that 94 point again in terms of that percentage. And you see lots of Democrats courting Latinos and Latinos going to Democrats in Texas because of stunts like this. And whatever happened to the GOP being the party of law and order, and you got to respect the law. I mean, that is the biggest lie, and this is now, again, put the lie to that, because obviously what the GOP is saying is we want you to follow the law, and we're going to enforce the law against you, but the laws don't apply to us.
Let me just ask you a question point blank. What would your read be of that slice? Because clearly there is a slice, but give me more on how big or how large or small this slice is of the Latino population. We're talking about Texas, but just writ large, that seem to turn a deaf ear or a blind eye to issues like these because they have so successfully assimilated, you know, I'm here legally, they're here illegally, they're an immigrant, I'm a citizen. It happens inside of Black America just as well on other issues. But give me a sense of what that slice, that sliver looks like inside your community.
So the Hispanic population, and again, just as we say, the folks who answer the door when there's a knock in the Census Bureau is there, right? I mean, the documented legal folks, 70 million Latinos in the country now, 70 million, 20% of the population. And it's only going to get bigger. There's a lot of diversity there. Latino in Texas, even if you're Mexican American versus one in Arizona, Nevada, you know, California, they're all different. And you do find Texas has become the capital of Hispanic Republicans. And I don't mean Florida Cuban Republicans or Colombians or Venezuelans. I mean Mexican-American Republicans in Texas, because it means something to live in Texas. They're in a conservative place. They're marinating in those juices. They're drinking the water. And so that's where I find my conservative relatives, friends, family members. When I'm having an argument with a Republican Mexican, that person lives in Texas 9 times out of 10. So there is that. But that sliver it varies from state to state. It has to do not just with I'm here legally, but they'll say my family has been in this country for 5 or 6 generations. So they're very far removed from the immigrant experience, and they're indifferent to some of the things that are happening there. But also, you know, the Democratic Party has done themselves no favors because, as you and I have spoken about on this program, dating back to Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, they've blurred the lines. They've blurred the lines trying to impersonate Republicans, trying to outdo the Republicans on deportations and the like. So I have heard Hispanic Republicans say to me, or even those who are Democrats who vote Republican, they're saying, you know what, I don't see the difference. Why take the fake Coke? I'm going to vote for the real thing. You know, my choices on the ballot are I can vote for the Republican or I can vote for the Democrat who's impersonating the Republican.
I can say this, Ruben cannot, and I'm saying it because Chris Rock said it. If you're a Chris Rock fan, you'll recall the joke he told years ago, one of his big stand-up specials, about black folks and niggas. He said there are black folk and there are niggas, and even black folk don't deal with niggas. That joke resonated in so many ways. There were people who there were articles written about that. There were conversations online about that. People dissected that joke 18 million different ways because we understood the point that Chris was making in his joke. So that whether you're talking about the Latino community or the black community, there is this snobbish, turning up of our noses, arrogant, elitist attitude that some of us have about the least among us. Those who are disenfranchised politically, socially, economically, we turn our nose up, look down on these people. Muhammad Ali famously said, "I never want to look down on anybody looking up to me." But you see this kind of sick behavior, not just in Ruben's community, but in our community.
There's a flip side, brother. There's a flip side to that. There's a flip side to that, and that is I think we got it backwards in your community and in mine. The reason we show respect to that hard-working person who's holding down 4 or 5 jobs and paying their bills, and they don't have an Ivy League degree, and they're not, you know, the African-American or the Latino who went to Princeton and lives in Beverly Hills, is because they are really the backbone of our community. Our communities were built not by black and brown kids who went to Princeton. Our communities were built by those working class black and brown folks.
That's right.
And so we do have it backwards. What we respect in this country is often off kilter.
Nope. Couldn't agree more on that point. Could not agree more on that point. Not sure if I'll agree with this next point I want to raise vis-a-vis my friend Ruben Navarrette Jr., but I do agree with that point. So let me just read a couple short paragraphs from a recent piece that Ruben read. I mentioned every time he comes on, he is, and I'm glad about this. He's my friend, has been for 30-some years, and I revel in the success that he has had as a writer. And it means something to be read by more people across this country than any other Latino commentator historically. That's a big deal. We say that's high cotton around here. And so I celebrate that part of Ruben, even if we don't always agree on the issues. But let me just quote from this piece he wrote. The headline is, "What do Democrats want? They have no idea." There's a lot that Democrats don't. I'm reading Ruben's piece. There's a lot that Democrats don't know. They don't know who to be or how to act. They don't know which policies to support or oppose. They don't know how to woo voters and win elections, and they don't know what they want or how to be grateful for what they have. Other than that, Democrats are in great shape. Their saving grace, however, is that Republicans have their own set of problems. For instance, every GOP candidate running in the November elections should have to go on record about whether they support President Donald Trump's 5 biggest failures: breaking his promise to curb inflation, imposing tariffs on countries that were friends and allies, authorizing brutal and unlawful immigration raids, trivializing the nationwide affordability crisis, and launching a costly war with Iran that is opposed by more than 2/3 of Americans. I love that list of Donald Trump's 5 big failures. I love Ruben suggesting that if you're running as a Republican, you need to be asked, where do you stand on Donald Trump's 5 biggest failures? If I were a moderator at a debate, which I have been alongside Ruben back in the day, remember that debate, Ruben, Howard University? We were on stage together.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
We were on stage together many years ago with the debate I curated of all the Democratic candidates in that election. That was Barack Obama, it was Hillary Clinton, it was John Edwards, it was Joe Biden, and we were all there together with this debate that I curated for PBS. I called Ruben as my friend to be one of the moderators, and so we've done this debate together. I digress on that. Let me finish reading one last paragraph from Ruben's piece. Of course, none of the chaos on the other side of the aisle lets Democrats off the hook for their mistakes or shortcomings. For instance, they don't know how to take a win. Let me stop and let you take it further. When you say Democrats don't know how to take a win, what do you mean?
After I wrote this piece, I had the occasion to have dinner with my wife and I with this lovely couple, friends of ours, hardcore Democrats. And they have never voted Republican, and they're never going to vote Republican. And they are, all in for the Democratic Party. And the woman said to me, just out of the blue, unrelated to what you read, she goes, "It just seems to me, I'm so frustrated. It seems like Democrats are trying to lose. They're not trying to win, that they're trying to lose." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Well, they have these candidates that excite people, and they run away from them. They run the other direction, right?" And one of the great examples of that is, Abdul El Sayed, who is just a perfect candidate on paper. I mean, he says things that are off base. He says things that are offensive to some people. All politicians do that. They speak for a living. But this is a guy who went to med school. He had an MD, University of Michigan, homegrown product, born in Michigan, went to Oxford, Rhodes Scholar, has a double doctorate. And, his like Barack Obama, his grandparents are white, for crying out loud. Okay? And despite all that, Democrats say, gee, you can't nominate him to go up against Mike Rogers, the former congressman, in November because he'll lose. Mike Rogers, you and I have covered Mike Rogers for 1,000 years. He's a retread who has to, walk the minefield of saying whether or not Trump lost the election in 2020. So he is not their best candidate. And all this has to do with the fact that that he's Muslim, that El Sayed is Muslim, that his father was Egyptian. I mean, where do we start, right? And so the reason I wrote this column was because I got really fed up when James Carville, who you and I have both interacted with in the past, said basically that the DSA candidates need to love it or leave it. Love the Democratic Party, broken as it is, or leave it. And I thought to myself, whoa, this cannot be the same guy who back in the day in 1992 helped usher in the first baby boomer president, despite the fact that the World War IIers were saying, stay back, kids, it's not your time yet. And so the very fact that James Carville has now taken a position of like being Richard Nixon or Hubert Humphrey, hey, get off my lawn, really was discouraging to me, because if you're a Democrat, you ought to want to win elections, which means you send up the best possible candidate. And don't be afraid if that person has, as Barack Obama would like to say, a funny name.
Yeah. Speaking of Mike Rogers and Abdul El Sayed in Michigan, I was looking at some poll data literally just yesterday. And again, I don't put all my faith and confidence in polls. I've looked at a couple of them. And Mike Rogers at the moment, underline that phrase, at the moment, is slightly ahead in this particular race. Again, got some time between now and November. And in a couple polls I looked at, he's inside the margin of error. His lead is inside the margin of error, so it's too close at this point. But my point is that he is slightly ahead, which leads me to ask this question that we've discussed on this program with many others, although not with you, and that is, clearly until we get to November, the jury is still out on whether or not these DSA candidates can pull off the November wins. They've won these primaries, and there's a lot to celebrate, I think, about that. But we will see come November whether or not they can win, and James Carville is hoping that they don't win these elections so he can make his point. See, I told you. We ain't got no business letting these DSA folk inside the Democratic Party. So there's going to be a reckoning come November. What's your guess of what that reckoning looks like?
I think it's going to be a mixed bag. Some are going to win and some are not going to win. You've already seen that in the primaries. If you're a crazy DSA candidate who believes in, spaceships and unicorns, you're not going to win. But I don't see what's behind door number 2, because if it wasn't Abdul El-Sayed who won that election in Michigan for the primary, it was going to be Haley Stevens. I think that was her name.
Yep.
A sitting member of Congress who didn't inspire anybody, who isn't the masterful speaker that he is. If you believe El-Sayed, he says that Bill Clinton told him at some point, Bill Clinton, the great orator, the natural politician, right, the Babe Ruth, the Lou Gehrig, that Bill Clinton turned to him and said, you may be a doctor, but you're a hell of a speaker. You ought to think about going into politics. If you have a natural talent like that who's been blessed by Bill Clinton, get out of the way. What, you're going to nominate Haley Stevens? You think Mike Rogers, who, again, I ain't afraid of Mike Rogers, okay? I ain't afraid of him, and you ain't afraid of him, okay? He ain't that bad. He ain't that big. And this idea somehow that, you're going to run Haley Stevens against him, he'd have beat her easily. You got to go with the pizzazz. People buy the sizzle, not the steak.
Yep.
And there's sizzle with this guy. So just embrace the sizzle, Democrats. Stop being idiots.
Ruben's making a strong point here that sometimes Democrats just don't know how to take the win.
They just can't get out of their own way, brother.
No,
they just can't.
It's like they want the L. No, take the win, fool. Take the win.
I'm sounding like Dr. Cornel West now all of a sudden.
Yeah,
oh, Lord.
Yeah. he'll be happy to hear that. He's you're learning.
Yes.
I got 90 seconds left. Say a quick word about this other piece you wrote. Then I wasn't so sure I like this one. Win, lose, or draw, I have no regrets over supporting the Iran war. After all this drama, Ruben, how can you still be in support of the Iran war?
I gave an analogy in that base of that column. It said, look, it's like I got a leaky roof. It's been leaking all winter. The house is flooded. I hire a company to come up, and not only do they not fix the roof, they make it worse. Do I then conclude I hired the wrong company, or do I ignore the fact that I still have a leaky roof? We still have a problem with Iran because Iran's been at war with the United States for 47 years. One of the shameful things that Iran did, and I don't think you're going to argue with this, they attacked the moderate Arab states with missiles and drones. They attacked the moderate Arab states, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, Saudi Arabia. Why? Because they had U.S. bases there. And so imagine if Iran had nuclear weapons and they used them against those moderate Arab states. The minute they did that, they proved that the people out there who say Iran is crazy and has to be dealt with, they ain't dreaming, they ain't lying.
Yeah. I think they bombed them because they couldn't get to us. I mean, they're not close enough to get to us. So they hit places that have U.S. air bases. I think it's pretty simple, but I take your point. And besides, I'm out of time. I can't debate with Ruben on this like I'd like to. Maybe next time. Ruben Navarrette Jr., nationally syndicated columnist for Creators Syndicate, writer of the Navarrette Nation on Substack, host of the very popular podcast, Ruben in the Center. Ruben, I'll talk to you soon, man. Love you. Thank you for your time.
Your friendship is a blessing, brother. I love you.
I feel the same way. More of Tabby Smiley when we come forward.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tabby Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is denying wrongdoing after a grand jury criticized his administration's handling of Hope Florida funds.
There was no diversion of any Medicaid funds. That was a private settlement.
The report found no basis for criminal charges, but questioned the use of $10 million from a Medicaid settlement that was later connected to political efforts opposing recreational marijuana legalization. A coalition of state attorneys general led by Black New York Attorney General Letitia James is suing the Trump administration over new mail-in voting requirements. The lawsuit argues the USPS is overstepping its authority by imposing election-related rules that states say could affect voting. And veteran actor Samuel Monroe Jr., best known for roles in Menace to Society, Set It Off, and Tales from the Hood, has died at age 52. Monroe had been battling meningitis and other health complications for months. His family is asking for prayers as they mourn his loss. Get BIN News now, on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There is more drama with the Lakers sale. Jeannie Buss, one of 6 children of former Lakers owner Jerry Buss, has filed a lawsuit against her 5 siblings to block the sale of the siblings' 17.8% ownership of the Lakers to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner. Iger and Kushner have an agreement with Lakers owner Mark Walter to buy the team from Walter for $12.5 billion. 5 of Buss's children have agreed to sell their percentage to Iger and Kushner. Jeannie is holding out because she feels the Buss name should maintain some percentage of the Lakers with the new ownership group. The sale is not official until the NBA Board of Governors vote to give formal approval. The next owners meeting is in September in New York City. The Dodgers lost another one-run game in Atlanta Wednesday night, 6-5. The Braves got a 2-out pinch hit single in the bottom of the 9th to win it. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Oh no! Tear the roof down!
I don't know what time.
Please, God, save us. Save our house. Please, God, please.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we haven't forgotten what happened Tuesday, January 7th,
2025.
The trauma, processing the loss of our home. How do we address the compounding effect of the fire now more than 18 months later? I noticed one of my 3 children engaged in self-harm who hasn't been able to articulate the challenges that they've had since the fire. And 4 out of the 5 folks in our household are in therapy. 1 is not, and the one that's not is the one who I noticed with some marks on their person. This isn't okay. You need to talk to someone.
Black historical memory keeps alive the stories and struggles of everyday people and communities. Black historical memory preserves truths that others attempt to erase, minimize, or distort. Black historical memory prevents history from repeating its worst chapters. At KBLA Talk 1580, we will never forget. Tune into Conversation Live, Altadena Forward with James Farr, weekends on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Glad you're with us in this second hour, and as promised, on the B side here, a conversation with South Carolina native Bakari Sellers, former South Carolina state rep for that matter, civil rights attorney, political analyst that you see all the time on CNN, to talk about what he sees as some Democrats see as a glimmer of hope inside Republican Senate Darline Graham's primary win earlier this week. Bakari Sellers, good to have you back. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Always glad to be in your presence.
It's great to hear your voice, man. Glad to have you on, as always. Let me start with this. I didn't know how this thing was going to turn out. Obviously, you're a South Carolina native, so you know this stuff far better than I do. I'm not stuck on stupid, and I'm not naive. So I figured there was obviously a good chance that Darline Graham would pull this race off, notwithstanding the fact that in that debate, she just came out and said, well, I don't know nothing about national security. That's not really... I mean, that clip went everywhere. It's abundantly clear to anybody inside of South Carolina, or for that matter, outside of South Carolina, that she's really not qualified, and that's being charitable and generous, not qualified to be a United States Senator. Her only resume entry is that my brother was Lindsey Graham. And yet she's running against, whether we agree to disagree with his politics, and I happen to disagree, as I'm sure you do, with the guy she was running against. He has served for a long time. And yet the voters in South Carolina didn't seem to care about that. Just unpack that for me, for starters.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's it. Ralph Norman actually was more conservative. When you think about, conservatism in the traditional sense, he was a part of the Freedom Caucus. He wasn't a MAGA by any stretch. In fact, he endorsed Nikki Haley for president of the United States, which was probably his greatest faux pas. And then he had just run for governor and almost made it to the runoff period. Mm-hmm. So he'd run for governor and was a huge name, and so he had a legitimate chance to win. But Donald Trump came in and campaigned for, literally came down and campaigned for Darline Graham. It's a weird thing about people's proximity to power and how your only qualification has to be that your brother was a United States Senator, and all of a sudden you can be a United States Senator too, because she's very, very ill-equipped. I do think, though, the one compliment you can give is that, Lindsey Graham's staff just enveloped her and navigated this campaign cycle with precision, because they took somebody who does not belong in the United States Senate and, made them the Republican nominee.
Yep. I mean, it is South Carolina, so, nobody is stupid about that. But what does this victory for Lindsey Graham's sister, Darline, say to you about, I think I can use this word, the enduring power of Donald Trump's endorsement? He didn't win every race this cycle, but that endorsement still carries weight, Bakari.
It does. I'm a little colder on that than you may be, and the reason that I am is because, he in South Carolina he was only 1 for 3. Mm-hmm. He came into South Carolina and he endorsed Pamela Evett, the lieutenant governor, and she ran for governor and she lost. Then he came in to South Carolina and tried to get them to take Jim Clyburn out in the redistricting battle, and he was rebuffed by his own Republicans. So he was 1 for 3. He needed this win in South Carolina. He got it. You can't negate that. But he's still very much a presence in in this party. I think you and I both may agree on this. I'd love to sit down and drink with you one day and talk about it. But I do believe, though, the biggest problem the Republicans have is that MAGA voters really only come out for Donald Trump. It's almost like Ticketmaster. It ain't really transferable.
I got that. And what's your read of the impact of that reality, potentially?
Well, I think the impact of that reality is the less powerful you are, the more people regress. And you're going to start to see, one, in every state that matters, all the swing states. I mean, you're talking about Ohio, Michigan, Maine, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Georgia. He's, 20, 30 points underwater. Texas, he's even 20 points. His favorables are 20 points lower than what they were. So when you look at all of these things, you realize that people are going to start to break away from him. And they recognize they're going to have trouble in the election. I think that one of the things, and I know that this isn't what you brought me on to talk about, but I know that there was a lot of hubbub about Hakeem Jeffries meeting with Josh Kushner, or Jared Kushner, excuse me, last week. And what I took from that is that the White House is cognizant of the fact that they're going to have a hard time winning in November. So they're trying to make those inroads now. So I think that his power is waning. It's still a grip, a vice grip within the party, but it's waning overall.
Yeah, I laughed when you said, this ain't what you brought me on for. No, brother, I bring you on to talk politics. We can cover anything and everything whenever you're on this program. So there is no list of things you cannot talk about with me ever on this program. I'm just honored to have you back. So I'm glad you raised that, because that issue, as you can imagine, came up a few times this week on our program. We played the clip of Hakeem Jeffries trying to explain what that meeting was about, saying we're going to hold every member of the Trump cartel accountable. I said, yeah, everybody except Donald Trump. And we all know it. They ain't going to mess with Donald Trump. They ain't going to impeach Donald Trump. Never mind what Al Green did in introducing those articles. They ain't trying to go there. So you talk about holding everybody in the Trump cartel accountable. Yeah, everybody but the head of the cartel. So I love Hakeem, but I ain't trying to hear all that. But here's the issue that I raised, Bakari. One, you're right about the fact that I think it suggests that the administration realizes that they're going to have to deal with Hakeem Jeffries. They're going to take a shellacking, to quote Barack Obama from years ago. They may take a shellacking. The blue wave may actually happen this time around, although I keep warning against an irrational exuberance about that. It ain't just going to magically happen, number one, if it happens at all. But the way I read this, though, is not just that they realize they got to deal with Hakeem potentially, but also that they realize that Hakeem ain't Nancy Pelosi. Because I cannot imagine any condition under which Nancy Pelosi would be having a private meeting with Jared Kushner. Part of my other problem was, why private? Just put it on your public schedule, because we're going to find out about it. You can't hide nothing in Washington. And when we find out about it, now you're on the defensive. Now you're on your heels trying to explain why you had a private meeting that wasn't on your public schedule. That is self-inflicted. That could have been avoided. But I do think there's something to this. They know that Hakeem ain't Nancy Pelosi.
Well, ain't nobody Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah,
that's first and
fair,
foremost.
Fair.
The second thing is that I do believe that Hakeem should just come out and simply say that, look, I'm not an individual member. I represent the entire caucus. We got members. I can't be the Speaker of the House without my frontline members who are in these swing districts winning. That's why I'm not out here jumping up and down for Medicare for all. And yes, in order for me to have any success, in order for any piece of legislation to get signed, the White House is going to sign it. We're going to have accountability. Part of Hakeem's message, though, I'm not sure if it's the message or the messenger or both, but the delivery is somewhat off-putting to people. And, what I told him is next time just do a walk and talk and tell people, look in the camera and be like, walk through the halls of Congress and say you don't get the money for the infrastructure bill without bipartisan effort. You don't have Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court without a bipartisan effort. We're not going to have any success the next 2 years without a bipartisan effort. So, yeah, I'm going to hold them accountable, but I'm going to have to meet with Republicans, including Jared Kushner. I think if he would have said that in that fashion, people would have said, I don't necessarily like it, but I understand it. Okay. To your point, shrouding it in mystery and then sitting in front of the the projects like you, Jay-Z, and Reasonable Doubt does not necessarily convey that level of trust.
No, when you have these clandestine meetings, man, it's going to get out at some point. So you might as well just put it on the public schedule to begin with. That's my read. But you heard Bakari Sellers say it, not me. He said it. So I got to ask him about it. So I've asked this question of others this week again, but not of Bakari Sellers. When we come forward, I'll let him respond since he went there to the Hakeem Jeffries question. Is he the right man in this moment? Can Hakeem Jeffries meet the moment? Since Bakari said, I'm not sure if it's the message or the messenger. Is Hakeem Jeffries the right man for this moment? I've asked it before. I'm going to ask it again when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
As we go a little something like this.
Talkers Magazine has spoken. Out of every talk radio host in America, Tavis Smiley ranks number 14 on the Heavy 100 list. One of the top 15 most important voices in the nation, right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Unapologetically progressive, unapologetically powerful. Tune in weekdays on the 9s, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight. This is your station. This is your voice.
Let's get it on!
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
My name is Khalifa Bey. I am the founder of the South LA Bureau of Tourism and Trade. And how this is impacting me is that I can't promote it. I won't promote it. I hear a lot of talk about everybody. Accountability is responsibility. Change your vote. Change the vote. I know there's a lot of Democrats in this room, and I get all that, but if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result, it ain't gonna happen. And it's not about Democrat, Republican, it's about getting what we need to get done. That's what it is for me, because this is deliberate. This of our communities, you look at Chicago, you look at all the black communities were built by us, we're in the same condition. So to me, it's by design. And if we don't do something to change the vote to get to what we need, stop having these meetings.
Making sure they stick to the truth. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Bakari Sellers. Bakari, before I get to that Hakeem issue, I do want to ask, back to South Carolina one more again right quick, what Dr. Annie Andrews' chances are of beating Darline Graham. I've been watching this very closely, and I love the ad campaign she's leaning into. The sister versus the doctor, because she is a pediatrician. Yeah. So it's the sister versus the doctor. That's how she's framing it. She's been on this program. Dr. Andrews has been on this program before, so we spent some time with her. But it is South Carolina. Andrews seems more qualified clearly than Darline Graham is, but does she have a shot at this at all?
You know, it's a tough race. I think that most people have to be honest about the race. And when you're acknowledging, you know, where we have an opportunity to win, and you look at North Carolina, you look at Ohio, you look at places like New Hampshire. But South Carolina is unique, and South Carolina always marches to the beat of a different drummer, which is why Dr. Annie Andrews is well situated and suited. And part of that is because she's actually done the legwork and she's raised the money, so she can actually compete on the airwaves. And she's talking about, she's not nationalizing this race, which is something you can't do in South Carolina. So when when you have those errors or inartful statements like Dr. Andrews talking about, when Darline Graham talking about, you know, her plan for your health care is to simply work until you die, like her parents did, right? Those things are really, they're heard in South Carolina because we still have counties without OBGYNs. We have rural hospitals that are shutting down. And, you know, if you have a heart attack in certain parts of South Carolina, that's a death sentence. And so not having access to quality care is a real issue, no matter if you're Democrat, Republican, black, or white. And Dr. Andrews is hitting those notes. So she has a puncher's chance, which is sometimes all you can really ask for. And, you know, we sent Doug Jones to the United States Senate from Alabama before.
Oh, yeah.
You know, maybe if there is a wave, Dr. Andrews can ride that as well.
When we come forward, our remaining moments with Bakari Sellers, we'll talk about Hakeem Jeffries and whether or not he can meet the moment. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The BLM Center for Black Power is a hub for Black activism in the city of Los Angeles, a standalone nonprofit affiliated with Black Lives Matter LA. The venue is home to live events, meetings, and organizing drives for Black-led community-based organizations. It is also the base of operations for Black Lives Matter LA. Built on what used to be a nuisance property owned by an arms dealer, the BLM Center for Black Power is in the heart of Leimert Park and has opened its doors to everything from youth organizers to toy drives to film screenings and community town hall meetings. To make a donation or make a request, please visit blmla.org. That's blmla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
This summer, the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich and Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A.
Let me tell you about the Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite. It's bright, it's bubbly, it's back.
The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich, it's so rich, and you can choose between the original or the spicy filet.
Ooh, boy.
And then you got those pickled jalapenos tucked right under the filet, and then just to top it all off, you've got a little honey drizzle right on top.
Okay, now I'm a pimento fan.
And I'm feeling the dragon fruit.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
You say you'd never give in to a meltdown. Never let kids' toys take over the house. And never fill your feed with kid photos. You'd never plan your life around their schedule. Never lick your thumb to clean their face. And you'd never let them leave the house looking like less than their best. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it. Never let them stay up too late. And never let them run wild through the grocery store.
We have on aisle 6 and aisle 3.
So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, no, it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Bakari Sellers, there's no doubt that Hakeem Jeffries faces an impeachment dilemma. I don't want to put too much on it, but an impeachment dilemma. It will be those supporting that, those who want to do the investigations, if he becomes the speaker, if Democrats win back the House. So I ask Bakari Sellers, is Hakeem Jeffries the man for the hour? Can he meet the moment?
My answer to the question is he's the man of right now. And so, Tavis, have you seen those Instagram posts where they have the husband or the boyfriend, and I think it's the voiceover from a talk show, and they like, and this is your man, and the lady says, yes, that's my man, and I'm gonna stick beside him. Yeah, and Hakeem is our guy, and I think he's capable. I think he's navigated it. I think that we expect him to be Nancy Pelosi because she ruled with an iron fist and she ushered in great change. He's going to be a different type of leader, but I'm not willing to take all the potential progress off the table, because this is what people don't realize, and this is what I hope your listeners truly take home. If we're successful and we take back the House, Democrats take back the House, we will have the most black power in Washington, D.C. in our history. We'll have committee chairs in Thompson, Meeks, Brown, Scott, Maxine Waters. We'll have the leadership of the House Speaker in Hakeem Jeffries. The Associate Speaker will be Joe Neguse, who I think is dynamic, and Congresswoman Lauren Underwood would be in the Deputy Chair of the caucus. And so this will be the first time. Now, what we do with that power, and I know some people are very jaded, that's the conversation that we have to have. I prefer to have that conversation with Hakeem Jeffries rather than the conversation of do you deserve to be Speaker, because I believe that answer is yes.
Since you went there, that raises another question then. Symbolism matters, but substance matters more to me. I love the symbolism, but can they deliver on the substance?
And that's the question. I mean, I have tried to echo to them as loud as I can, and they were like, well, we just did a press release on Sunday, and I'm like, no, I need you to answer one question as boldly as you can, which everyone asks. And I'm as close to that nexus of power, I guess, as anyone else, and they listen to me, and I have somewhat of a platform, and I don't feel like I can hold Republicans accountable if I can't hold my own party accountable. But I'm asking one question, which is, when you get the levers of power, what are you going to do for us? Answer that question clearly. And unfortunately, I haven't gotten one yet.
Yeah. What is your sense of how he's going to navigate this pro-Palestine faction? How is he going to navigate this impeachment dilemma? I mean, he's pretty adroit. Can he do all that?
Yeah. I think what he has to do, though, is focus on the issue. I mean, while Gaza and Israel is an issue on many people's minds, I think the number one issue, the number one issue is affordability, Tavis. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
People care about Gaza, of course. They care about Israel, but the more people care about what's happening on and around their kitchen table. And how do we make gas more affordable, housing more affordable, groceries more affordable, those type of things. And I think that if he keeps his eye laser focused on that and accountability for people who are robbing from us, I mean, the fact is the corruption is making the costs go up. I mean, they're robbing us and making our costs go up. And if he's able to draw those nexuses, he can be successful. It ain't easy, but we'll see.
Yeah, my friend Connie Rice, regular on this program, says, it's affordability, but it ain't just affordability. It's upward mobility, and that's part of what is a whole other.
Yeah, I mean, so Connie's very clear. I am tired of black folks surviving. I want to get to a place where we're thriving. I think we're speaking the same language.
There you go. Affordability plus upward mobility, and we'll leave it there for now. Always honored to have Bakari Sellers on this program. Appreciate his insights. Bakari, we'll do it again soon. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friend.
Sounds good. Thank you.
More Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is denying wrongdoing after a grand jury criticized his administration's handling of Hope Florida funds.
There was no diversion of any Medicaid funds. That was a private settlement.
The report found no basis for criminal charges, but questioned the use of $10 million from a Medicaid settlement that was later connected to political efforts opposing recreational marijuana legalization. A coalition of state attorneys general led by Black New York Attorney General Letitia James is suing the Trump administration over new mail-in voting requirements. The lawsuit argues the USPS is overstepping its authority by imposing election-related rules that states say could affect voting. And veteran actor Samuel Monroe Jr., best known for roles in Menace to Society, Set It Off, and Tales from the Hood, has died at age 52. Monroe had been battling meningitis and other health complications for months. His family is asking for prayers as they mourn his loss. Get BIN News Now, on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There is more drama with the Lakers sale. Jeannie Buss, one of 6 children of former Lakers owner Jerry Buss, has filed a lawsuit against her 5 siblings to block the sale of the siblings' 17.8% ownership of the Lakers to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner. Iger and Kushner have an agreement with Lakers owner Mark Walter to buy the team from Walter for $12.5 billion. 5 of Buss's children have agreed to sell their percentage to Iger and Kushner. Jeannie is holding out because she feels the Buss name should maintain some percentage of the Lakers with the new ownership group. The sale is not official until the NBA Board of Governors vote to give formal approval. The next owners meeting is in September in New York City. The Dodgers lost another one-run game in Atlanta Wednesday night, 6-5. The Braves got a 2-out pinch hit single in the bottom of the 9th to win it. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley.
Culture in my lifetime has been as impactful, if not more impactful, than politics or law or any other pursuit or business. You know, I like to say culture is undefeated.
Culture is undefeated. That's what Council President Marquise Harris Dawson says, and you know what? He's right. Culture is undefeated. But here's the problem. You don't get to celebrate the culture while ignoring the people who created it. And that's where this procrastination Crenshaw conversation gets real. As you know, the community sent a formal letter to Harris Dawson. We're still waiting for an official response from the city. The deadline is Friday, September 4th. But in the interim, Harris Dawson penned an open letter to the community. Okay, that's fine, but responding is not the same as answering. That said, let's not confuse fixing the parking, repairing the streetlights, and repaving streets and sidewalks with finishing Destination Crenshaw. The community was promised a transformational project. So, where is it? When is this thing going to be finished? The council president says the project is being delivered on a timeline. What timeline? That's not an unreasonable question, and that's not an attack. It's not division. That is accountability. And then there's the business interruption money. So in his letter, Harris Dawson says that more than $1 million went to Doolin's on Crenshaw, and additional assistance went to a few other individuals. Oh, really? Who received the money? How much money? And who didn't? I can assure you a whole lot of folk didn't get that money. How do I know? I'm getting the phone calls. You see, transparency should not scare anybody. That's how accountability works, and that's why in our letter, we ask for an audit. But instead, what do we get? A discussion about Tavis Smiley, the pastor, the parishioners, the business owners, the people asking the questions, their motives, their ambitions, their character. Well, let me tell you something. When you can't answer the questions, attacking, insulting, and gaslighting the persons asking the questions doesn't make the questions disappear. It just makes people ask why you won't answer it. Let me be clear. We don't want to fight with the council president. We want the project finished. because the people of Crenshaw are not on the sidelines, Mr. President. They are Crenshaw. And if culture really is undefeated, then respect the culture, respect the people, respect the businesses, and most importantly, respect the questions. Now, answer them. The Crenshaw Corridor community is still waiting, and September 4th is fast approaching. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Just talking louder and saying nothing and saying
Stevie. Anybody like him? Stevie Wonderful on Tavis Smiley. We're in the third and final hour, and I'm glad you're with us. Two conversations in this hour, as promised. On the B-side, we'll step into the Elders Skybox and talk with civil rights SNCC legend Courtland Cox. One day before the 63rd anniversary of the March on Washington. Tomorrow is August 28th, and 63 years ago today, it went down in the nation's capital. So we'll celebrate that and just tap in with Courtland Cox on the back side of this hour. But we commenced this hour with our dear friend and our brother Michael Pfleger. Father Mike, he's back at St. Sabina. He was reinstated this week. If you missed all the drama surrounding the iconic white priest on the south side of Chicago, we'll explain it for you. Let me just read this first. It sets it up nicely from the Sun-Times in Chicago, and I'll let Father Mike take it from there. I read again from the Chicago Sun-Times, the headline early this week: the Reverend Michael Pfleger reinstated at St. Sabina Church after being cleared of child sex abuse claim. Let me read two paragraphs right quick. The Reverend Michael Pfleger was reinstated in his position as priest at St. Sabina Catholic Church in Auburn, Gresham, following an investigation into a child sex abuse claim against him from decades ago, the Archdiocese of Chicago announced on Monday. In July, Pfleger was accused of sexually abusing a girl who was a student at St. Sabina between 1993 and 1995. It was the fifth similar accusation against Pfleger within 5 years. He staunchly denied the most recent accusation as the Archdiocese Independent Review Board investigated. I repeat, it was the fifth similar accusation against the progressive priest, Father Mike, in the last 5 years. He is my friend. He is my brother. I get not just chagrined, I am pained every single time they do this to him. I start, Father Mike, for the audience to understand why this keeps happening to you.
Well, hey, first of all, my brother, thank you. I appreciate your support, your love, your friendship over all these years. You know, it's crazy, and that's what my lawyers have been trying to point out to the Archdiocese, is that, you know, then they want to say, well, then people say, well, there's smoke, there's fire. This is the fifth one. Well, and everyone has been told not only unfounded, impossible, no even assumption, no gray area. And this one was so absolutely bizarre. I mean, it was just absolute just impossibilities for things that this woman said. Mm-hmm. But the thing of it is, you know, I understand, you know, that I'm a target, and I get that. It is no surprise to me right before this one that that I have on the two Sundays before had condemned Trump again and been very outspoken here about his policies, his evilness, his wickedness, his advancement of white supremacy. He's created a climate, I believe, that has given permission to these lynchings that are taking place around this city and this country. He has given permission for hatred to rise up on steroids. It's always been there. It's part of America's DNA. But when you have a president who is covering for racists and covering for bigotry and speaks it himself, then you all of a sudden find a resurgence of lynchings around this country. And we just saw in Gary, Indiana, what happened there. With the last place to be helped 2 weeks after the storm, the last place to be helped was the poorest area in Indiana, in Gary, Indiana. So I'm going to continue to speak about this. I told Trump, that a couple weeks before that, I had to tell him to shut up and stop lying. I've been summoned by the FBI. They told me I had to come in and see them. They told about a talk I gave in Detroit that I threatened the life of Trump. And I said, I'm not playing these games. They do know I'm not coming in. Then they said they were coming here, and I said, well, you ain't going to get in my door. And then the Sunday before this accusation, my brother, it was July 5th, right after the July 4th propaganda of all this wonderful America for 250 years. And that Sunday, I preached on the fact that America is a dream that's never been realized. And I'm talking about the reality of the real America. And then at the end of that, I washed the feet of a veteran, of a black woman, of a young brother from the street, of an elder, of an LGBTQ+, of an Iranian whose family was bombed to death, and a Venezuelan whose family had been locked up, and apologize to them for what America has done and is doing right now. And Tam, you would have thought I'd called for the firstborn of America to all be killed. Man, I got 1,200 emails within 24 hours. I got another call from the FBI. I get threats on my life, and then all of a sudden, at the end of that week, there's an accusation, and then the MAGA folks come out, and I'm quite sure that there's money behind this for this person. But what's so crazy is and so we've been condemning this process that the diocese has. Hold that thought. I'll get to the process when we come forward. Before I get to the process, though, I want to add something else to that list. There's a connection to the brother minister. The brother minister. We'll make that connection. That's on the list of the reason they keep coming after him as well. His friendship with the brother minister. We'll talk about that and then get to why this process is so flawed and how it ought to be fixed. He should not keep being targeted this way. How do you fix the process? We're talking to Father Michael Pfleger of St. Sabina on the south side of Chicago on Tavis Smiley.
This show was built for you, for the community, for the culture, for everyone who wants more than headlines, for everyone who wants meaning. Tavis Smiley has always believed that public media can change lives. And every single day, that's what he comes to work to do. You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Your voice, your issues, your show.
You ready?
Drop it. 2 shows, 1 Friday. All Amanda Seals. What's up, y'all? Catch me here on KBLA Talk 1580, first from noon to 2 p.m. And if you miss me, I'm back 4 to 6 p.m. See, this is where the conversation gets real. Ooh, and it gets good. So don't miss it. Fridays only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's good, KBLA delegation? I am Miles Lowe, and I'm excited to be joining the weekend lineup right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Join me every Saturday at 12 noon for the Do Better Show, where we get into the world of tech, AI, the creator economy, navigating your mental health through it all, and have conversations with founders to find out how real people are making real money right now. It's not a course, not a subscription. Class is in session every weekend, live on the air. If you knew better, you do better, right? So let's make a better you. The Do Better Show, every Saturday, 12 noon, and replaying again at 7 p.m. right here on Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
My name is Bronwyn, and I've been in this neighborhood for 65 years.
All righty.
I was raised here, right on Crenshaw Boulevard. Ancestry, legacy, everything. No parking. In regards to our elderly, in regards to trying to get from one end to the other, 48th and 50th Street is a dead zone. You got to get off the bus and you got to make your way down in the middle of the block. I'm right across the street. I understand one of the things. I am happy to see you guys. I've been in too many meetings where you weren't there. I understand those who own the buildings and your properties. I understand those who rent from you. Here it is. Why can't we invest in each other?
Making sure they follow through. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed. I'm always honored to have my friend and brother, Father Michael Pfleger, senior pastor of the faith community of St. Sabina in Chicago and South Side. They keep targeting this guy. 5 times in the last 5 years, they've brought some scurrilous charges against him. And every single time they set it up, he knocks it down. But every time this happens, he gets pulled out of the pulpit. And so the members, the mostly black members of St. Sabina, have to do without Father Mike for as long as it takes for these investigations to be done. And it's happened again 5 times in 5 years. That's not targeting. That's like targeting on steroids, right? You got to find another word for that. That ain't targeting.
Exactly.
I've been targeted before, but my Lord, 5 times in 5 years. We'll come back to that in a second and talk about the process, how we fix this broken process in a second. But I added to that, you gave a wonderful list. I asked Father Mike, in case you just tuned in, why they keep targeting you. If you missed the first part of this conversation, check out the podcast. You don't want to miss any of this dialogue. This is likely going to repeat tomorrow on the Best of tab. I can tell you that already. It's going to be a Best of tomorrow. But check out the podcast when it's posted later tonight to hear his answer for the reasons why he keeps being targeted this way. I said before the break, I want to add to that list. I don't often tell my business or our private business on the radio, but I'm making a point here. I was last in Chicago a few weeks ago for a birthday party. It was the 93rd birthday party of the Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan. And the Brother Minister invited me. I was in Hawaii at a conference, had to fly back to L.A., sat in the airport for 4 hours, then caught another flight to Chicago, got to Chicago, and had to get to this birthday party. My friend Father Mike picked me up, and we drove together out to the farm. I flew in Chicago. We went to the farm in Michigan for this wonderful party that everybody came to, wonderful celebration. 93rd birthday of the Brother Minister. My last time, as you know, seeing Mother Khadijah. It's my last time seeing her. On that particular day. But Father Mike and I rode out there together, rode back together. So I love spending time with him, but he gave us time in the car to talk on the way there, talk on the way back. I just love that fellowship with you, Father Mike, in the car that day.
I love it too.
Yeah, but everybody knows, everybody in Chicago knows that you have never shied away from your brotherhood, your friendship with the Brother Minister, and I can't imagine, even in Chicago, that doesn't factor into the ways, and one of the reasons at least why they keep targeting you.
Absolutely, Travis. And I've gotten hate and threats for years on that. And after, it's funny, you mentioned the birthday party when we went together there, and a wonderful thing turned into a gospel concert. With Donnie Courtland and Yolanda Adams. And I was about not even, I think, 8 days afterwards, I got a call from a guy who identified himself as a rabbi, whether he was or wasn't, I don't know. But he said, if you don't disembowel yourself from Farrakhan, there's a group of us coming after you, and we're not going to stop until we destroy you. That was about 8 days afterwards. And it has continued to be that. When Farrakhan was shut off of Facebook, he came back with his public statement here at St. Sabina, and the Holocaust Museum condemned me, called St. Sabina a sanctuary of hate. We had this very ugly public war because I said, you know what, you say what you want to say about me, you can take me on, but you ain't going to come down on my people and my church. You're not going to call them a sanctuary of hate. So anyway, it's been this ongoing thing. They're about to get, let me just give you a little sneak preview on this. They're about to get really mad again on Monday because the Monday final call, the next issue coming out, I'm on the front cover. The minister called me the other day. I talked to him again yesterday. You the front cover of the next issue. I said, we both about to get a lot of stuff. And he says, I know. I'm ready for it.
He's still feisty at 93. Number one, he's still ready. He's still ready for fights. Man. But I'm just cracking up. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm just cracking up at the image of this white Father Mike on the cover of the Final Call.
At the cover of the Final Call.
Yeah. I can't wait to see that, man.
What I love about it is that, like I tell people, that I've known this man for 40 years. He's my friend. He's my brother. I would take a bullet. I tell the FIOs all the time. I say, I'm gonna get in front of that bull before you would. Just know that.
Mm-hmm.
I love this brother. He's been there for me. When any of these times have been going on, he's the first one that calls me and he said, "You want to come stay at my house? Come stay here. Come out of the farm. Live here." He's always been there for me, and he's my brother. And I will do anything to support him. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm very public about it, and I'm not about to change that. And people who have a problem with that, then they got a problem with it, just like it was for Jeremiah Wright, just like it was for you and Brother West. And they were trying to come after y'all, saying, well, you never went after anybody else. Like, bro, come on, shut up. Obviously, you're ignorant because you don't read. My friends are my friends. And I'm going to stand up for people that I have integrity, who people that stand for stuff. I'm going to stand with them. And that's always been an issue. And it continues to be, but that's other people's problem. And whatever the cost of that is, a good friend of mine who was since deceased, Tavis, Daniel Berrigan, was a priest.
Oh, yes.
And Dan Berrigan made a statement one time I never forgot. He said, if you're going to be a follower of Jesus, you better look good on wood. And that has stuck with me all these years. There's a cost to discipleship, Bonhoeffer said, that banner hangs in our church. That so if people have a problem with it, they have a problem with that. But their enemies are not my enemies. In fact, most of their enemies are my friends.
That's a great quote from Berrigan. If you're going to be a follower of Jesus, you better look good on wood.
On wood.
Oh man, I'm taking that one. My goodness. Yeah, but that's as you know, he was your friend. But I was a fan of his for years. Always will be.
Yeah.
But his writings, his sermons, his work, man. But But that line. If you're going to be a follower of Jesus, you better look good on wood. Let me pivot and talk about this process. You were going there moments ago. Let's go back there. So I've been following this, of course. I follow it all the time, and you get in this mess undeserved. Speaking of Dr. King, who we both love, and obviously Michael Pfleger spoke at Coretta Scott. He's been everywhere, and everybody loves him. He spoke at Coretta Scott King's funeral, Rosa Parks, Jesse Jackson, everywhere. He is regarded and respected. We love Father Mike. And Dr. King said one time, as you famously know, that unearned suffering is redemptive. Unearned suffering is redemptive. And Father Mike is always subjected to this suffering. It's never earned, and so he always gets redeemed in the end. Dr. King was right. Unearned suffering is redemptive. But this process needs to be redeemed. This process needs to be fixed. I saw an article in Sun-Times, or maybe the Tribune, where members of your church advanced their own ideas about the way the archdiocese ought to fix this process. Tell me more about that part.
Yeah, I'm so proud of my church. They were down there, and I have a group of lawyers that are right now working on writing up how this process be fixed. What's happened is, for years in the Catholic Church, let's face it, turned their eye, closed up, buried their head in the sand when abuse was taking place. We know that. But now they've gone to this other extreme, and I'm not even sure it's always to protect the abused. I think sometimes just to protect the institution. So they've gone to this other extreme. And now, for instance, like happened with this one and every other one, somebody sends an email saying an abuse happened to me in such and such year or whatever. What you do is immediately you get a call, like I did on this one, and says somebody made an accusation, and you have 3 hours to move out of your church, find a place to stay, and find a lawyer at your own expense. And then they put out a public release that you've been accused, an accusation to come against you for abuse, without ever having had a conversation with the person, let alone an interview, let alone a background check, nothing. All that takes place after. And my thing has been, listen, An accusation ought to begin an investigation, not an end of a reputation. And they have to understand they have an obligation to say, before you remove somebody, at least find out, is there anything to this? Because this was a closed, all you had to do was read her transcript when they filed that interview to know this was absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
Absolutely impossible. She talked about buildings that weren't even in place, and even there, it was just craziness. But we're just saying, take a process, be transparent. You have one board and meets once a month on this thing to look over these cases. And you should have four boards meet every week on some different cases, sign each one of the boards, so people's lives aren't out there hanging and being trashed because you put it out there public of an accusation. That should never have been done without some kind of an initial investigation, and to look and see, is there a danger approximate? I can see if somebody was accused of doing something to a child or an adult or anybody in the last 6 months, a year, 2 years, at the place where they're at, okay, that's a different story. I've been here 51 years. Nobody from this church where I live at and have been after 51 years has ever said anything, even hinting like that. These are for 30 and 45 years ago from folks who are looking to make money, or somebody's paying them to do this, like we know in one case. And so we're saying, fix the process. I'm the one with Senator Collins here in Illinois when she fought some years ago to extend people being able to legally prosecute abusers. It was only you could do it up to 3 years. She fought to move it to 10 years. I was the one that went to Springfield and fought for it while the Catholic Conference of Illinois was fighting against it. I was the one that was fighting for it, and we got it passed for 10 years instead of just 3 years. So I'm just saying I want anybody who's been abused should be treated as a victim, should be helped, and should be compensated. No question of that. But I'm not going to allow, because you did so much wrong for so many years, now you're going to punish and have a process that is unjust and is broken. All we're saying is fix the process. And what was so sad in this, I couldn't get any other priest even to stand up because they're all afraid. But I said, this is bigger than me. This is about a system for anybody.
Well, my friend told me years ago, you don't hang out with scared folk because scared Negro get you killed anyway. So
you're right about that.
Don't hang out with scared folk because scared folk will get you killed. So you smart in that regard. I've got 2 minutes left. I mentioned your longtime friendship with our sister Coretta Scott King, at whose funeral you were invited to speak. Tomorrow, as you well know, is the 63rd anniversary of the March on Washington. Just situate where we are 63 years later as you see it.
Well, unfortunately, while people gave their lives, suffered, struggled, were beaten, were hosed, were bitten by dogs to try to move America to be who she says she was, that we now have in place an administration that is unraveling. Here, just a few weeks ago, we celebrated the Voting Rights Act, and here it is trying to be unraveled right before our eyes. Like I said earlier, it's racism and bigotry are on steroids now, and with not only being allowed but given covering. So it is sad to see what is happening to all the struggles and the minor steps that got taken. And of course, when Dr. King got murdered, he was calling for economic justice, and here we are, all these years later, and a further gap between the billionaires. And we used to have a war on poverty for a minute, and now we got a war on poor people. It's a reality of what's happening in this society. So we need a remix of the civil rights movement and of the March on Washington. We need a definite remix, and we need to come strong, and it's only going to come from the bottom up.
I close on this note. There was a very well-known actress who was also at Minister Farrakhan's 93rd birthday party, who I've known for years, and she saw me, ran to me, and we spoke to each other, and I introduced her to Father Mike. When this story broke of these accusations, she texted me the story in the paper in Chicago and said, "Oh, no, isn't this your friend who I met at Minister Farrakhan's birthday?" I said, "It is." And she said, "What say you?" And I said to her, "They do this to him all the time. Stand by for a few weeks. He will be cleared." And I said that with such great confidence. I said, they do this to him all the time. stand by for a few weeks. He will be cleared. And the minute the story broke that you'd been reinstated and cleared, I sent that text message back to her and said, I ain't wanted to say I told you so, but I told you so. And I just took great pride because they do this to him so often. It was just a matter of time before they cleared him. But the process is broken in the Archdiocese of Chicago. It ought to be fixed, and the recommendations are in. We will see what happens next. But I'm glad that he is back at the Faith Community of St. Sabina on Southside Chicago. If you're ever in Chicago on a Sunday, check out St. Sabina. You will not be disappointed. Father Mike, I love you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
I love you, my brother. Thank you always for standing with me. Bless you, man.
Stay strong. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
In a world full of noise, one voice cuts through. Tavis Smiley has never backed down from the hard questions, never shied away from speaking truth to power and to the powerless, and he's not about to start now. This is the show people talk about, the one your co-workers quote, the one that gets under your skin in the best way. Tavis Smiley, nationally syndicated, unapologetically progressive, unapologetically real.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is denying wrongdoing after a grand jury criticized his administration's handling of Hope Florida funds.
There was no diversion of any Medicaid funds. That was a private settlement.
The report found no basis for criminal charges, but questioned the use of $10 million from a Medicaid settlement that was later connected to political efforts opposing recreational marijuana legalization. A coalition of state attorneys general led by Black New York Attorney General Letitia James is connected to political efforts opposing recreational marijuana legalization. A coalition of state attorneys general led by Black New York Attorney General Letitia James is suing the Trump administration over new mail-in voting requirements. The lawsuit argues the USPS is overstepping its authority by imposing election-related rules that states say could affect voting. And veteran actor Samuel Monroe Jr., best known for roles in Menace to Society, Set It Off, and Tales from the Hood, has died at age 52. Monroe had been battling meningitis and other health complications for months. His family is asking for prayers as they mourn his loss. Get BIN News Now, on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There is more drama with the Lakers sale. Jeannie Buss, one of 6 children of former Lakers owner Jerry Buss, has filed a lawsuit against her 5 siblings to block the sale of the siblings' 17.8% ownership of the Lakers to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner. Iger and Kushner have an agreement with Lakers owner Mark Walter to buy the team from Walter for $12.5 billion. 5 of Buss's children have agreed to sell their percentage to Iger and Kushner. Jeannie is holding out because she feels the Buss name should maintain some percentage of the Lakers with the new ownership group. The sale is not official until the NBA Board of Governors vote to give formal approval. The next owners meeting is in September in New York City. The Dodgers lost another one-run game in Atlanta Wednesday night, 6-5. The Braves got a 2-out pinch hit single in the bottom of the 9th to win it. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColidusFoundation.org.
Ready for a weekend reset? Walk it out with me, Gina A. Towns, the artist formerly known as Gina Darby, on Reflectivity Beyond Black and White, as we seek peace, understanding, and healing beyond surface level perspectives, where reflectivity becomes our inner power and resilience to transform our lives and our communities no matter what. Meet me and my crazy cool guests. Join the Reflectivity family movement as we make sense of it all. Every bit, every morsel. We're going to nourish the mind, body, and soul unapologetically right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Every Saturday, 2 and 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 4 and 10 in the Midwest, and 5 and 11 on the East Coast. It's time for Reflectivity Beyond Black and White. It's not only hot, it's sizzling, and we're cooking.
Oh no! Straight the roof down.
Oh no, we have time.
Please, God, save us. Save our house. Please, God, please.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we haven't forgotten what happened Tuesday, January 7th, 2025.
The trauma, processing the loss of our home. How do we address the compounding effect of the fire now more than 18 months later? I noticed one of my 3 children engaged in self-harm who hasn't been able to articulate the challenges that they've had since the fire. And 4 out of the 5 folks in our household are in therapy. 1 is not. And the one that's not is the one who I noticed with some marks on their person. This isn't okay. You need to talk to someone.
Black historical memory keeps alive the stories and struggles of everyday people and communities. Black historical memory preserves truths that others attempt to erase, minimize, or distort. Black historical memory prevents history from repeating its worst chapters. At KBLA Talk 1580, we will never forget. Tune into Conversation Live, Altadena Forward with James Farr, weekends on KBLA Talk 1580.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
You are indeed. Tomorrow is the 63rd anniversary of the March on Washington, August 28, 1963. And we're going to step into the Elders Skybox here for another 25 minutes. We often have the opportunity to be blessed to just work our way up into the Elders Skybox, as I call it, to talk to these legends about all manner of issues. But today I'm pleased to welcome to this program Courtland Cox, civil rights organizer, chairman of the board of the SNCC Legacy Project, to talk about what happened 63 years ago tomorrow that forever changed this country. Courtland Cox, an honor to have you back on Tavis Smiley. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. And yourself?
If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I am doing remarkably well, and I'm honored to have you back on this program. I want to start by just asking a broad question, and I'll let you do what you do, and I'll get in where I fit in. But here we are, 63 years later. We are in the 250th year of the founding of this republic. Juxtapose those two things for me, if you will.
Well, I think one of the things that we really need to understand is while we are the 250th year of the republic, we're really only in the 63rd year of Black people in this country being at least having some semblance of full citizenship. So when we begin to think about this country, before 1965, there was no, we had all the barriers to citizenship. And in fact, so my sense is that as we begin to look at where we are today, there's no celebration for us, of 265 years. I mean, that is, that's an imagery that we cannot participate in because we were not there. I mean, I also think that as we look at at where we are today with the whole Calais issue and the whole, gutting of the voting rights bill, we really need to begin to understand that we're not engaged in politics as we are taught that they should be about in terms about elections and, voting for this person or voting for that person, and that there is some integrity there. what we really need to understand and see with the Trump administration is, actual war against people who they now want to consider the others. I just read a piece today which they're now beginning to the Attorney General in Washington, the federal prosecutor in Washington, D.C., is now going after the school system in Washington, D.C., to try to begin to show that there is, I don't know what, and begin to talk about these people are not worthy of being. And so my sense is that as we look at where we are today, 250 years after the founding of the United States, 61 years after the Voting Rights Bill in 1965, we need to understand that we are continuously at war with people who are trying to ensure that we go back, to make America great again when we were second-class citizens.
Yeah. To your mind, and I'm asking a broad question to give you as much canvas as you need to paint here, Courtland Cox. To your mind, who are we at war with today, 63 years later? Have our combatants changed? Who are we at war with today versus 63 years ago?
Yeah, there are two levels of the war. There are really two levels of the war, and one is used to excuse the other. So my sense is that the war, we were brought to this country in change so that our labor could be exploited. That has not changed. When you look at the question of slavery, whether you look at this question of sharecropping, whether you look at the question of being in the factories and being paid less, whether you look at the whole question of the high unemployment rate, the real fundamental question that African Americans have is the question of economic exploitation. But to cover that, people developed a whole cultural thing to say this is justified. The economic exploitation is justified because these people are less than us. These people, one of the things that, the Harvard University and Columbia and all these people had professors who talked about our brains being smaller. We looked at the churches, they all talked about we were the son of Ham. They look at all the leading supposed intellectuals, so this is not a question, the cultural attacks on us is not just a question of the Klan or ignorant white people. My sense is that all the institutions that, are supposed to be respected, are the people who, created the cultural cover that allowed this to happen. And now you see it in the schools. MAGA decided, DEI was, a problem. So Columbia buckled, all the big schools buckled, to get them out. And now when the irony is that the Justice Department's Office of Civil Rights, their major charge is to begin to really look into the discrimination against white men. So my sense is that you have, at one level, you have the economic exploitation that was at the beginning and continues, but also the society, beginning to justify the economic exploitation with cultural attacks on us, and it keeps going on. And we need to understand that is our situation, and we need to have the mindset to begin to try to deal with it at every level.
I have been for years now an art and memorabilia collector. If you don't believe me, come to my building at some point and you'll see. We have a number of things on display around here. We move things in and out and change things from time to time. But I'm an art collector, a memorabilia collector, and I've got so many things in my collection that I've picked up over the years of talking to people and meeting people in the work that I have done. And one of the pieces in my collection that I'm proudest of is a copy of the program from the March on Washington 63 years ago tomorrow. And when you study that program, you see that there was much more going on, obviously, than Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. A lot happened that day. And so I'm always fascinated to ask people who were around then what they found to be most empowering about that day. If it's King's speech, I'll take that. But so much happened that day, and sometimes not even about a speech. I've heard so many different answers to this question, but I've never asked this question of Courtland Cox. What did he, all these years later, find most empowering about what happened 63 years ago tomorrow? We'll get that answer and a bit more when we come forward here on Tavis Smiley.
Every day, somebody somewhere is trying to silence the truth. Not on this show. For over 3 decades now, Tavis Smiley has been bringing you the conversations that matter, the voices that challenge, the ideas that move us forward. From the halls of power to the heart of the community, Tavis covers it all. Real talk in real time. This is Tavis Smiley.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Seriously speaking, every Saturday when I hear the program about Altadena and how it may not come back, that's happening to us. This is the largest land grab since the gold rush in California. We have an EDD property, 59,000 square feet. Our elected representative determined that she should write a bill that would declare it to be surplus. So now guess what we're getting? Affordable housing. So I hope that we can start listening to one another, because there is a domino effect. If you don't care about us, guess what? We won't be here, and then you won't be here.
Not letting them get away with anything. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
63 years ago tomorrow, the March for Freedom and Justice and Jobs went down. March for Jobs and Freedom, to be exact. It was about justice, but the official title was the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Happened 63 years ago tomorrow in Washington. The reverb on that is still as real as rain. Still has an impact all these years later. And Courtland Cox was there. He was on the stage when John Lewis spoke on behalf of SNCC. He was on the stage when Dr. King gave the I Have a Dream speech. What a moment. What a moment to have been in the thick of things while it was going down. But Courtland Cox was there. Courtland, I am curious, as I ask all of my friends who were there that day, what the most empowering part, take me anywhere you want to take me, I'll follow you, but talk to me about what you found to be most empowering about that event 63 years ago tomorrow.
Well, I will tell you, it was a day I will not forget, because one of the things that was very clear is that before John Lewis spoke, we got a message from Archbishop Boyle, the Catholic representative to the March on Washington. And he was delivering a message from the Kennedy administration, saying that if John did not tone down his speech, criticizing the Kennedy administration, talking about marching through the South like Sherman, and calling for one person, one vote. I'm not sure which one of these offended the Kennedy administration, that the Catholics would pull out of the March on Washington. At that point, Bayard Rustin came to John Lewis, Jim Foreman, myself, to tell us about the Kennedy administration's discussion and their demands. And we told Bayard we were not going to change John's speech. What Bayard did was then he got talked to A. Philip Randolph, and A. Philip Randolph talked to us. And you have to remember, Randolph was probably in his 60s, 70s. John and I were probably 22, 23 years old. And Randolph said to us, look, I tried to have the March on Washington in 1941. I was not able to do it. It's really important that, in fact, you make the changes to your speech so that we can keep the coalition together. So that day, Jim Foreman, John Lewis, and I were in the back of the Lincoln Memorial making changes to John Lewis's speech that he delivered without any flaws. So my sense is, I will never forget, the kind of work and kind of political action that we had to take while the march was going on to make sure that the coalition that put the march together was held. The other thing that also was very impressive to me while up there is the role of Harry Belafonte. And Belafonte brought in, 3 plane loads of movie stars, including people like Charleston Heston, Marlon Brando, anybody you could name, Gregory Peck, anybody you could name.
Sidney Poitier, Sammy Davis Jr., Lena Horne. Yeah,
everybody you could name. Harry Belafonte was, brought them to the March on Washington. So I remember 3 things about the March on Washington. The first is what I just said about having to change John's speech.
Sure.
The second is the 3 plane loads of movie stars that Harry Belafonte brought in. And the third is Mahalia Jackson, egging Martin King Luther King on as he spoke and he's delivered his speech. So those are the 3 things to me that I remember. Now, well, there's a fourth. There's a fourth thing.
Hold that fourth for me just 1 second. I want to hear the fourth and final thing when we come forward to our final segment. But that Mahalia Jackson story is one I've shared many times with this audience. I love that story. Tell them about the dream, Martin. Tell them about the dream. We'll tell you the Mahalia Jackson part in more detail when we come forward here on Tavis Smiley.
Who's sitting across from Tavis this week? Leaders, legends, game changers. The people shaping the country and the culture. They come to Tavis Smiley because this is where the real conversations happen. No spin, no fluff, just straight talk and straight answers. Tavis Smiley, because the Kingian question, where do we go from here, starts right here.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
You say you'd never give in to a meltdown. Never let kids' toys take over the house. And never fill your feed with kid photos. You'd never plan your life around their schedule. Never lick your thumb to clean their face. And you'd never let them leave the house looking like less than their best. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it. Never let them stay up too late. And never let them run wild through the grocery store.
Peanut on aisle 6. And aisle 3.
So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, no, it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
I got a tight 2 minutes here, Courtland Cox. Tell me that fourth point you were about to make.
Okay, the fourth point is Bayard Rustin and I got up maybe about 6 o'clock in the morning, and we went out to see if there is anybody there. If we went out there, and literally there was nobody on the mall. Mm-hmm. And Bayard turns to me and he says, you think anybody is coming to the March on Washington? Mm. And just as he said that, some people from Virginia started coming in. And the reason that there was nobody down there is that there were so many people trying to get to Washington. The highways and the roads were parking lots because there were so many people trying to get to Washington at the same time. Yeah. So, I think that's the fourth thing I remember when Bayard turned and asked me, do you think anybody is coming to the March on Washington?
Well, when they started coming, as you know, they kept on coming and kept on coming and kept on coming and kept on coming. The number they've used for all these years is 250,000 people. I still think it was more than that. But anyway, it was enough to make the point that needed to be made. And out of that march comes similar legislation like the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. So Dr. King and everybody around him, he didn't do it by himself. A lot of people aided and abetted in getting that kind of similar legislation passed. But Courtland mentioned earlier, Mahalia Jackson, it is a moment. Dr. King is starting out strong. I always put that speech in 3 categories. He starts out really strong from the beginning, talking about the promissory note. He starts to falter just a little bit in the middle, and he kills it at the end. But in the middle, he was faltering. Mahalia Jackson, being a great performer, could feel that Martin was starting to lose the audience just a little bit. And you can hear her on tape if you listen close enough. A voice says, "Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream." Dr. King had done that speech at Cobo Hall in Detroit as a tryout, if you will. He brought it back, reprised it for the March on Washington, and obviously slayed it. But Mahalia knew about Martin talking about this dream. And so she says, "Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream." Dr. King folds up that prepared speech, puts it in his pocket, starts riffing, and the rest, as they say, is history. George Raveling, the late great coach of USC men's basketball, ended up with the actual copy of that speech as a part of his collection. But Mahalia Jackson telling Dr. King to tell him about the dream, Martin, tell him about the dream, changed the course of history. I digress. I'm out of time. Courtland Cox, I love you, your work, and your witness. An honor to have you on this program once again, sir.
Thank you.
Just like that, 3 hours are gone. Tomorrow's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. So tomorrow, it is Thursday today. Tomorrow's Friday. The best of Tavis Smiley on these stations all across the country. Until tomorrow, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is denying wrongdoing after a grand jury criticized his administration's handling of Hope Florida funds.
There was
Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Top 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.